Hello, friends. We got James is here, Matt's out. Who is that? Mindy, Joey, Daryl, Herschel, APOC, and who is that? Good evening. That is Takelsi. Who's that? What's going on? Hope you guys are well. Clicking buttons, doing things. Troubled Minds starting right now.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, let's get basic. Let's go back to the basics. Sometimes I get a little too ridiculous for myself and try and stack way too many ideas. But sometimes inspiration, per usual, comes from the most unlikely of places. If anybody knows me, I tend to repeat ideas in my head and get stuck in some of these cycles and circles in fun ways, not bad ways, just sort of in fun ways. And I like to call it sort of exercising the idea from myself, because if it gets stuck, I can't move on from it unless we talk about it together. So sorry for making you guys my guinea pig and my catharsis points, but sometimes that's the way this goes. Tonight, so we're going to talk about ghosts and dreams. Okay, that's where we start tonight. And of course, the inspiration for this comes from, if you guys have been hanging out on the Discord, you'll probably know and you'll probably chuckle when I bring it up. But I share my dreams with ghosts, is what I'm calling this. And of course, the psychic DMZ. We'll get to what that actually means as we go tonight. But as we start, just think of it this way. Why is it that it's ubiquitous, basically, in terms of people suggesting you can visit spirits, or spirits can visit you in your dreams? It's one of those things that I think that even if you ask the most, hardened, staunch normie critic of these ideas, I would bet there's reasons why these things persist. And, we've talked a lot about human latent energy kind of sticking, or maybe visits happening in terms of, entities crossing over, or maybe, as usual, this is the dream space is maybe a space that's allowed for this type of contact to happen. I don't know. So just basically, as we start, have you ever had an experience where you dreamed of somebody that's passed on? And did it feel so real that you think it was real? And that becomes the question. And then we'll talk about why that might be and all kinds of other things. But the funny part about this is I can't shake this from my brain. And so I'm going to just say it and we'll get it out of the way. But this is from Andor, okay? And I'm not going to bore you with, by the way, Andor is fantastic. It is very, very, very good. There's season 1, season 2 just came out and just finished, and it's very, very good. So I do recommend it if you're into Star Wars. I will not bore you with Tales of Galactic Rebellion tonight. Maybe another night, but not tonight. But there's a line in the end of season 1 Andor by Luthen Rail, who's like a rebel spy, basically, or one of the architects of the original rebellion. And he's asked by a spy, what do you sacrifice? And I'll just read a couple lines of this and you'll get the gist of where the inspiration came from. So Luthen responds to what do I sacrifice? Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. We'll leave it at that because the inspiration there is self-evident and really exactly where we need to be as part of these conversations. Sometimes just one little line of an aspect of something is enough for that inspiration to kind of draw a larger conversation, a larger, let's say, pool of possibilities from. And that's good enough for me tonight. I share my dreams with ghosts. And have you ever shared your dreams with ghosts? Now, here's the thing regarding this. As usual, you guys know the rules. There's no truth to be found here. These are ideas. We're looking at sort of archetypal mindset things. We're exploring what it means to be human in the past, the present, and the future. There's no truth here, okay? Just ideas, kind of looking for maybe some answers off the beaten path, okay? And so, yeah, just ideas, philosophical constructs, as I like to call them. So if you're here for truth, you're completely in the wrong place. This is just a place about being cool and chill, hanging out, talking about wild ideas by dark of night with a bunch of amazing people. And that's that. So where do we start? So we'll start, I'll start straight from the write-up because I think it's probably most appropriate to just kind of get us into this. The write-up is very good again. I ran out of time, so I ended up doing it lazy style. So sorry about that, but it is pretty good anyway. So we'll start straight from this. The phrase, I share my dreams with ghosts, spoken by Luthen Rail and Andor, this is back to 2022, lingers with an eerie precision. In the show, it serves as a confession, sacrifice born of ideology. But removed from its narrative setting, the line mutates. It begins to sound less like a metaphor and more like testimony. What if we do share our dreams with ghosts? Not as poetic shorthand for memory or grief, but literally. What if sleep is a territory, not just of the self, but of others? And we've talked about this kind of semi-recently in terms of dream entities, okay? But what about this? We're going to separate that and look at it in terms of the direct definition of ghosts, of actual residual human energy that is passed on, no longer alive in this world in the flesh. Are we able to contact them in our dreams or vice versa? And that becomes the question as part of it. And as usual, these conversations are layered and varied and makes me wonder. And we'll get to what the psychic DMZ is as we go tonight. But that's where we start. That's what's on my mind because I think, like I said, sometimes I get a little too weird for myself. And some of the basic stuff, some of the more basic ideas that we've really never touched on are easier to talk about, one, and then probably more interesting to you guys where I'm not just navel gazing, pulling some wild idea out of my ass. So anyway, that's where we start. I share my dreams with ghosts. And have you ever shared your dreams with ghosts? And there's a whole lot of science that kind of goes into this, neuroscience and some other stuff that I'll talk about later on as we go as well. But there's a lot of theories. There are metaphysical theories. There's the neuroscience theories. There's the paranormal theories. There's a ton of stuff here that makes you wonder about what the hell's actually happening. And of course, the epigenetic style theories. We've talked about epigenetics and if they affect your dreams. Is it possible to actually have the dreams of your ancestors? That type of thing. And so when you start to look at it through these different lenses of what might be happening, it does make me wonder if the ultimate liminal space is that dream realm that we're always talking about. Or maybe the only place we're allowed to maybe meet up with entities that aren't allowed back for some reason. Sort of a purgatory of purgatories, if you catch my meaning. Anyway, that's what the psychic DMZ will kind of end up being. But anyway, so love to hear your thoughts. We are taking your calls tonight if you want to be part of the conversation. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And like I said, I am trying to I did get a new computer. So if you'd like to help kick a few bucks to that, I would appreciate it very much. I feel scummy even asking, but it has been 7+ years of Troubled Minds limping along with this kind of dying machine. So this is a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, it is you. So thanks for bearing with me. More Troubled Minds coming up in just a minute. We got James here on the line. We'll talk to him and your calls as well regarding this. I think it's an interesting one. And like I said, it's good to go back to the basics sometimes because I get a little too weird for myself. And yeah, that's a fact. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way in exactly 1 minute. Troubled Minds has never been a fundraising platform. We've built this space to preserve the integrity of our conversations about consciousness, the unexplained, and the mysteries that shape our reality. That's not changing. I respect the energy this community brings. You show up, you engage, you think deeply about ideas that most people won't touch. That's why I only ask for help when the cost burden gets heavy, because we all value this space we've created together. Right now, my computer is approaching its end of life, and keeping the show running means getting new equipment. If you can help, I appreciate it deeply. But here's the thing, if you're tight on bills or groceries, focus on your own well-being first. For those who can comfortably contribute, we've got AI music, t-shirts, and other swag available at troubledfans.com. It's a way to help cover the costs while getting something creative in return. But remember, your participation in this conversation, your willingness to explore the edges of human understanding, that's the real value here. Thank you for your support and understanding. And welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm real Michael Strange instead of AI Michael Strange. Sometimes it's easier to do AI voiceovers than it is real ones. But anyway, so thank you for that. Again, thank you to those of you that have already either bought AI music, bought t-shirts, the Troubled Fans stuff on troubledfans.com, and have helped with this because I do appreciate it quite a lot. Thank you for that. Yeah, who are you going to call? Okay, so let's back up. Now, spirits and dreams, the human spirit. Now, there's a lot of ways to consider this, of course, and that's why we talk about it in sort of the open-ended, nonlinear ways that we do, because I think, for me, this is something that's kind of been kicked around in my family as ideas that my grandmother, actually, rest in peace, Grandma, we love you, we miss you, that she has come back in dreams in my family to two different individuals who recognized it in particular different moments. And it was, let's say, shortly after Grandma passed, like maybe within 6 months, something like that. And the strange thing is that both times, with both direct witness accounts of Grandma visiting in the dream, it was accompanied by Grandma's smell, like this perfume she used to wear. She used to wear this powder and, kind of the old, 50s, 60s style smell. You know how particular people have a very particular scent to them. And so it makes me wonder if there is that demilitarized zone, per se, in the psychic sense, where this is where we're allowed to sort of make contact without causing problems, without crossing the Ghostbuster streams, per se, or, causing a metaphysical dust up, again, conceptually. But what do you think about that? Has anybody out there ever had a situation where something like this was talked about in your family? Have you ever experienced something like this? And do you think it's possible? And if so, what does it mean? How weird does it get? And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. James knows he's up. What's up, brother? Thanks for popping in here and being the glue of the show as always. And welcome to the joint. How are you? And go right ahead.
I'm okay. Well, you're talking about two things here I have a lot of experience with. And then when you combine them, I have experience with that as well, as far as I can tell. So this is an amazing topic to me. I wanted to kind of start real quick by sharing two really brief stories because it has me thinking. I had a dream about my grandma after she passed, not long after. I believe it was, actually, no, maybe it was before she passed. I'm sorry. But it was weird because it was just a regular dream. I knew that, but it was still really weird. And she was driving on a little motorized wheelchair scooter thingy across my backyard, which does not make sense because it's a backyard. It's not made for vehicles to be traveling on. And I was in my apartment and my blinds are open and I saw her going by and she stopped where I could see her. And the whole time she was driving and moving and everything, she was talking, but I could not understand what she was saying. And it was almost like she was chanting or praying or something. And she was doing this whole time. And even as she stopped and she turned and looked at me, still saying whatever she was saying, and then looked straight ahead again and just kept on going. And that's where the dream ended. And that's an example of a dream. It was still weird. I still don't know if there was any sort of, if she was in my dream and I was in hers at that time or not, but it was still odd. But that felt completely different from the dream I had after she passed, where there was basically a family gathering at her house, and I was the first one there somehow. You know, it doesn't make sense in the real world because I'm legally blind. I don't drive, and I never had a key to the house. But this family gathering, everyone showed up, and everyone except for myself and my grandma who had passed, we were the only two that felt like we were there. Like I felt like we were actually there. And she was able to walk. I've told the story before. She was able to walk in a way that she could not do physically for a couple of decades or more. And that one felt like she was there. That was her consciousness, spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it. And it was amazing. And I woke up and I knew she was okay. So, but this whole topic of ghosts and our dreams, I mean, I talk about this all the time, how we don't even know for sure what ghosts are. You know, I think there can be many things. And when you add dreams on top of that, that I think maybe can possibly remove some options, but also I don't know for sure either. So it's a great topic, and I'm glad to be here and to sit in with you on this one as well.
Yeah, glad to have you. And the thing is too, and I'm glad you said that, because the definition of spirit per usual is going to be, or ghost or whatever, soul, is going to be different. And as I always say, if you're doing it right and you ask the right questions to 1,000 different people, you're likely to get 1,000 different answers. And I think spirit or soul or ghost or those types of things are one of those questions that kind of fit the bill in that case, because who knows what that really is. We do talk about, human residual energy, haunting of places or objects, things like this. And what does that mean? And then beyond that, is it possible to sort of have that seep into these dreams, or have it be that liminal space where we're allowed to have that contact without, again, like I said, sort of shaking the supernatural cage or the metaphysical cage per se? Because that makes more sense to me, that we're maybe allowed some of that within the whatever framework we're dealing with. Because, some people, again, depends on what you believe. You believe what you believe. I'm with you. I'll back you up. Well, let's talk about it. Let's consider the ideas here. And I don't know what to believe. And that's why I think this stuff is incredibly fascinating to me, because, like I said, I try to be as agnostic in all ways as possible, because these definitions become slippery. They really do. And, one misunderstanding of an interpretation of an ancient tradition or something can really throw an entire ideology or dogma, as I like to call them, into a lurch, and maybe cause wars and things. Like, who knows? Like we've been doing to each other for years. But it is an interesting thing to consider. Now, regarding the actual dream space, do you think it is, as I'm describing, maybe a demilitarized zone? I should probably define that so we're not in the dark on what that means. So it's not just in North Korea, right? There's a demilitarized zone between North and South Korea where there's guns on both sides, but in the middle, it's like this barbed wire, and there's nothing there. So it's kind of stripped of. So that's not what we're talking about. That is a liminal space in that case, but we're talking about sort of in the computer sense of the word. Okay, so here it is. So a DMZ, demilitarized zone, is this: a network architecture that is designed to improve the security of an organization's internal network by placing an additional layer of protection between the internal network and the external network, typically the internet. The DMZ acts as a buffer zone that separates the internal network from potentially untrusted or hostile external networks. Does that make sense? So what's happening is, again, and so I'm suggesting that maybe the dream space is that demilitarized zone in terms of us being able to sort of commingle and then not cause problems on either side of that quote veil or that DMZ. Okay, so there's where the definition comes in. Again, yes, I made it up, just kind of putting terms together. But as usual, if you look at these ideas in terms of simulation theory, then it doesn't seem ridiculous to consider a DMZ at all. Anyway, your take on that, James, on maybe this is the space where it is allowed in some capacity. And go ahead with your take. I got massive questions, tons of stuff tonight.
Yeah, we've talked before about how dreams seem to be possibly a nexus between just who knows how many realms out there, the astral projection, out of body experience realm, just the other dimensions when it comes to encounters with alien-like beings. Again, my definition of alien is always just unknown to us, unfamiliar. All these things, time anomalies. I do wonder how that plays into all this as well, because that's another possible explanation for what apparitions or ghosts are in some cases. But yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, there's just so many reports from throughout time of people getting visits from loved ones that have passed or that are going to pass, as is in the write-up later on too. I noticed that. But where there's just so many reports of that throughout time, even up till today. I still find accounts of that when I do research for my shows and everything. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that is that kind of area. It would make sense in a way that the energy levels, like usually in dreams, unless it's a rare dream, and I'm wondering if there's some kind of energy level cap or energy level regulation in that zone as well, to where these encounters are sort of kept at a level that won't harm anyone in the physical world by having them. Just because there's so many reports of spirits or ghosts or souls or other beings, other interdimensional beings, being so powerful, being able to manipulate reality in different ways. I wonder if there's a system for that as well, part of that system that you mentioned for that DMZ.
Yeah, I wonder. It is a strange thing to consider. And so let's throw this question out there as well regarding sort of the paranormal tropes, okay? Is there a more common paranormal trope than meeting a deceased ancestor in your dream? It seems almost as if that particular thing is so common, not just, let's say, with, again, maybe it's just me and maybe my family's odd, maybe not. But as usual, you don't know the answers to these things until you put the questions out there and talk about these ideas. But it seems to me like this is an oldie but a goodie. And not only that, it may be the one that everybody recognizes as the possibility of maybe merging these realms together and having maybe a final moment, or maybe even an open conduit continually to sort of communicate with ancestral spirits. And so that to me is highly fascinating because, of course, as you guys recognize, when we start doing this, I was going to say TMT, not DMT. Don't do drugs, kids. When we start doing the Neuralink stuff, especially you, James, no drugs for you, James. When we start doing the Neuralink stuff and able to sort of download dreams and get like a more, signal to noise like we talked about recently, I wonder if we're going to be able to kind of recognize these ancestral entities, these ancestral spirits, as something that are not part of ourselves. I don't know. It's a weird thing when you start to merge technology with these old ideas, because maybe, just maybe, there's going to be this connection where everything comes together and things start to make a lot more metaphysical sense than we ever dreamed. About 45 seconds, what you got on that? And we'll take a quick break.
I just want to say, if your family is weird, then my family is weird, because my grandparents have appeared to more people than just myself in dreams. And in some cases, even out of dreams. So I know that the dream is low focus, but also, how is that possible? Are they coming through the dreams? Is it easier to come through the dreams? I've heard that as well. So yeah, looking forward to this conversation tonight.
Yeah, a lot of ways to do it. You guys know him, you love him. James is going to be sitting in again tonight. Thank you for that. Like I said, when he jumps in here, my anxiety does go down, because sometimes it's hard to juggle all the things without a co-pilot here. So appreciate it very much. Do give him a follow. You know where to find him. He's, of course, the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds, the glue of the show, a dear friend, all those things. SalcidoParanormal.com. Just go there directly, SALSIDO. And, of course, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It's alphabetical. It says follow James here. Please do that. Go follow him in all the places. Go buy his books. Check out his podcast and radio show. And, of course, go join his Discord as well, which is where we were making fun of that conversation we had a couple nights ago in the Discord last week, where I kept playing this clip over and over. I shared my dreams with ghosts. Anyway, more Troubled Minds coming up. Love to hear your thoughts on this. What about contacting ancestral spirits in your dreams? How weird does it get, and how weird are our families collectively, James and mine? Be right back. More on the way. Don't go anywhere. Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. Eli, Mr. Mission Control. What's going on, James? Thanks, James. We got Ioxys here. What's up, Richard in Texas? Good evening. Good evening. If I missed you guys, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Lucid Dream with not James, with Shane, the Blind Psychonaut. How you doing? What's going on, guys? Hello. We got that's Puff over there on the YouTube. They're mad that you're two-timing them over on Rumble. What's up, guys? Hello. Good evening. RC is here. What's happening, folks? We got Yeah, I wonder what dogs dream about. That's a good question. That's a hell of a question. Good evening. Jen's here, the Arcane Observer. What's happening, folks? Shane, I see you. Over to Rumble. What's going on, Rumble? From the bottom, Gordo, YY, how you doing? We got hello. Hiker got first, I believe, on the top there. Gordo is here. Yep. Yeah, Puff. What's up, Puff? Where's Puff? Is Puff there? Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Just hanging out, talking about wild ideas. APOC Sweets, Daryl. We got Matt, Tacklesley, Mindy, Dawn, and Molly, and more from James and your calls as well. What do you guys know about this? It seems like this one is standard, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, not D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, what if dreams aren't private at all, but shared spaces, monitored zones, or ancient crossroads where ghosts wait for nightfall? Could sleep be less about rest and more about contact, transmission, or trespass? And if so, of course, the question always remains in these types of conversations: who or what is reaching out through the veil? As we've always talked about when we talk about spirits and, you know, this type of contact with an entity, with a non-human intelligence, of course, which is all the buzz in the UFO community, the NHI, the non-human intelligence, that certainly plays in this case with an entity that's, an ancestral family member in your dreams. And that becomes the weird part, because can you trust it? It's almost as if it's like a nostalgia farm mind screw, because you're disarmed because you recognize the person and you're close and expect it, maybe not, you're not surprised to see them in your dream, a passed on ancestor, even, somebody close or somebody not late deep ancestor or anything, not like from the 1580s or something, but somebody recent and somebody It is a strange thing to consider, because we've always talked about those entities in terms of a spirit board or whatnot, that can you trust the entity on the other side if it tells you it's granny? I don't know. And those are the types of things that really screw with me when I think about these ideas, because non-human intelligence in and of itself is exactly that. And what the hell does it mean? And by the way, the question of tonight is this standard? Is it standard that in some families, has this happened to any of you guys, where you had somebody pass on, or somebody in the family that maybe you didn't know that was close to somebody else that relayed to you, they saw this passed on ancestor in their dreams? Let's say right around the time of passing, or of course, any time thereafter. Or as James was describing, even prior to. Who knows? Like this is the type of stuff that I think is, like I said, kind of basic for me, because this is something we talked about among the family for years and years, especially that smell, that grandma smell that kind of comes back and, lets you know immediately that it's her. I've never had a dream like this, and so I can't really describe it in that way. But when you have two different sources giving you a very similar experience, it's hard to discount it. As usual, right? Anecdotes are one thing, but enough anecdotes become data, and what the hell does it mean? So yeah, pretty wild stuff. Again, love to hear your thoughts. Phone lines are open. If you guys want to put your hand up on the Discord, love to hear your thoughts. Is this a normal thing, or are we just weirdos? Shout out James, Chief Weirdo. How you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Regarding the smell stuff, does that surprise you? I know you've probably run into this quite a lot in your paranormal excursions and research, that people talk about these smells accompanying these maybe ancestral spirits. What do you know about that?
Yeah, and just in general, encounters in places that are said to have activity, scents are a big thing with that as well. But definitely with family members too. More so, I haven't heard of that so much while they're in dreams. It's more it's more out of dreams. It's more just in their daily life. But yeah, I've heard of that. It's something I don't know a ton about, because I have no sense of smell. So I've never had that kind of experience. But it's definitely fairly common that reports of a scent appearing around you when you're going through something, a major event in your life, or just sometimes just like they're just stopping by to say hello, and that's how it happens. That's how it manifests, and then it's there and then it's gone, and there's no logical explanation for why that would be there. Even in some cases where the people that have the experience, they don't have anything like that particular scent, whether it's a perfume or whatever it is. They don't have anything that matches that in their own home.
Yeah, which is the odd part. And yeah, I have heard that too. Sort of, you kind of pick up a whiff of it somewhere just out in the world, which doesn't make any sense. Which is, again, is that a trick of the mind? Is it maybe somebody happened to be wearing something similar, smells similar? I don't know. There's a whole lot there. Let me read a little bit of this. Like I said, we do this for you guys and had to have these conversations. If you want to be part of the conversation, I want to hear what you think about this. Do you share your dreams with ghosts? And if so, what are they? And is it possible that this is actually that in between space from here to there where these encounters are supposed to happen. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, but what do I know? Like I said, it doesn't matter what I believe about the universe. It's going to do what it's going to do regardless. But anyway, back to this for a second. So within the psychological frame, ghost dreams are often categorized as symbolic projections of the unconscious, which we've talked about, very Carl Jung. Unresolved guilt, unspoken grief, or trauma long buried might surface in the shape of a familiar apparition. Carl Jung, as just invoked, might describe these entities as archetypal fragments of the psyche, parts of ourselves exiled to the unconscious, demanding return. The ghost in this schema isn't external at all. It's an echo of something you were or might have been. But this approach, while insightful, is still limited. It only accounts for meaning, not presence. It diagnoses the ghost as illusion, not participant, as part of this. And this is from the write-up there. Like I said, the write-ups are typically very good. I encourage you to join Troubled Minds newsletter at troubledminds.org. Just click it on top and go. Thanks to all the people who have followed that. Does anybody, by the way, anybody that uses Substack, have you noticed this? Like, I have tons of follows on the Troubled Minds newsletter, and they don't register. Like, they'll say, you got followed by 10 people today. And then the counter doesn't change. It stays at whatever it stays at. Anybody notice that? Anyway, so back to this. I'm just asking because maybe it's like a trick where they follow you, then unfollow you to get them to see them, and then maybe get a follow from you. I don't know. I'm paranoid like that. But anyway, back to this. So many spiritual systems disagree. Back to this whole bit of the Carl Jung part, okay? Because we're talking about the ghost is not an illusion, but a participant in this case, and actually reaching through your dreams for contact, some level of contact. And so in traditional Chinese ancestor veneration, the dream world is porous. Ancestral spirits visit to advise, chastise, or simply watch. In Mesoamerican cosmology, dreams were sites of spiritual travel, where the soul could traverse planes and speak to gods or the dead. In Haitian voodoo, dream visitation is part of everyday contact with the Iwa. Iwa is how you say that? Spirits that pass messages or warnings from the beyond. Lots of ways to look at it. And that becomes, as usual, when I look at these ideas and see that it's so really kind of scattered all the way through modern and ancient cosmologies and ideas of this ancestor contact with so many different aspects of it. What does it mean? Clearly, it's been on our minds for thousands of years, and clearly it's something that still is happening today. But what is it about that dream realm? And why is it probably more likely that you're going to run into Granny, shout out Granny, we love you, we miss you, in the dream realm than you might in the real world? And that goes back to this psychic DMZ. And I don't know. Of course, you know me. I don't know the idea. Or I've got an idea, but I don't really know the answers to those things. And that's why it's important to maybe consider these. Maybe this is something that we will find very soon when we start to actually tamper with dreams in that actual Neuralink way. Take on that, James. I got more to get to, of course. Tons to go.
Yeah, I do think presence is the big sort of distinguishing factor between, let's say, regular dreams that are just us on our own, making everything that we see and hear and sense, and other kinds of dreams where it's more than just us. I think that sense of presence is, especially in a dream, because I know that I've heard that with enough energy directed at someone in the waking world, they can feel that sense of presence there. I wonder if that can still work while people are sleeping, if that's the same or not. Because if it's not, then that would, to me, indicate that there is some other presence there. But even with that, I think I want to go back to real quick what you mentioned, where how do we know we can trust whatever we encounter? And I think this goes for everything, is to keep in mind two things. One, go with how you feel. Go with how whatever the experience is making you feel. But then also, two, be aware that you could be wrong about it. And just that's how I've always gone with through my experiences I've had. And because I've had so many over the years, anomalous experiences, that that's how I manage everything now. But yeah, I was telling a friend about this the other night on Discord, how I had a dream of my grandma after she passed. I had several dreams with her in them where there was that presence there. And we were in this big building with a lot of hallways. I don't know what it was, didn't recognize it. And she was talking very quietly to me, and I don't remember a lot of what she said, But the funny thing is, I do remember that she said that to get vitamins, to get vitamins again or something like that, which is funny because I had sort of let my vitamin supply run out because it's money and all those things, and I was feeling fine at the time, and so I remembered that when I woke up, nothing else but just that, and I got vitamins, and I was fine. I was fine before I got them. I was fine after I got them. But I just wonder now, was there a reason? Was I going through something that I wasn't even aware of to where she knew that? And she sent me this message of, get these vitamins, get your vitamins back, going back again. And I did for a while. But then eventually I stopped because I forgot and money and all that. And, but she never came back to tell me that again. So that's why I really wonder, did I only need them overall at that time?
Yeah, a little bit of the premonition style dream there, except it's reverse. It's the ancestor coming to tell you, hey, by the way, don't forget this. And I wonder, clearly there's no way we could possibly test it, but maybe just maybe you're about to get very, very sick or something, and your vitamin D jumped up and kept you from getting very sick. Who knows? Just saying as part of this conversation. Who really can quantify that? Like I said, it's not science, but it is intuition. And as you said very smartly too, I think, is that trust your intuition when it comes to this stuff. And also very smartly also that don't forget you could be wrong about that. So it's a kind of touch and go with all this stuff as usual. Fire stuff as usual, James. Anything else you got there? We got Daryl popped in. We'll talk to her in a second
here. Nothing I can think of for now. I'll probably think of more later. So talk to you then.
More on the way. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. What is it with these ancestors showing up in dreams? And is this really the only place where we can do such a thing? Let's say naturally. Because, the old necromancy comes to mind, which we don't want to talk about really, right? That's a little spooky in this particular instance. But if it's, I've been told in the past that if it's in the Bible, that it's possible. Because apparently God says in the Bible that you should not do necromancy, which means it is possible. That's what I've been told. What do you think? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. What's up, Daryl? Welcome to the joint, Daryl in New York. How are you? Go right ahead. That's all you got to do.
I'm here.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Here I am. Okay, so I was thinking, why do I have an echo? No, I wasn't thinking that. Let me get my notes. I was thinking about sharks and what mammals and animals dream. Like apparently this is I was just looking up, like I know sharks don't sleep. So if you don't sleep, do you dream? And apparently, even insects can dream, dogs and cats, etc. If you can, they have like eye movement when they're sleeping. That's an indication that you're dreaming. And most of our vivid dreams are happening while we're having rapid eye movement, right? So they do this by measuring brain activity, etc. And they have done, I don't know, I guess they did some research into insects and bugs, and even some fish even could have dreams, but they didn't mention anything. Oh yeah, koalas sleep 20 hours a day, and dolphins sleep while keeping half of their brains awake. Because I don't know if they stop swimming, but yeah, even reptiles have dreams, and yeah, rats have dreams. They twitch when they sleep. So, and they have clear signs of rapid eye movement. So that's basically how you measure dreams. I'm just mentioning this for the fuck of it. I mean, for the hell of it. Excuse me. And that it's part of your nervous system, whatever, But what about sharks, who don't sleep? So I'm trying to find out if sharks don't sleep, how do they dream? I was also thinking of the circadian rhythm. Like, why would some animals sleep 20 hours a day and we sleep 8 hours a day? Does it have something to do with the rotation of our planet around the sun? If we didn't rotate around the sun in 24 hours or whatever, would we sleep less? Would we, depending on, what if your planet doesn't rotate? Would you have a loss of circadian rhythm and never sleep, or always sleep? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and how much of that
What-
is sort of an ancestral aspect of this that could change? And imagine you talking about the shark, by the way, has me creeped out because
Right.
I'm also thinking about like a reptile. What do you think a reptile's dream would be like? Like the fattest, squishiest, most delicious bug you could ever find, just walking right into your mouth. I mean, something gross like that.
About eating, they're dreaming about predators. They have nightmares about predators, and they have dreams about catching their prey, or how to meet that other reptile they saw the other day. Fighting over the same whatever insect. Yeah, yeah, right. Like, what do they dream about? I mean, I think okay, and I also believe that it is a place to meet somebody in the unconscious level, or even that might be the only way to really. Well, it might be, there are other ways I believe to meet your dead ancestors, perhaps, because I've been on a Ouija board, and there's definitely some kind of communication with something there, that was very evident. So I think you could communicate that way, but you're still dealing through another person or medium, or but I think dreams are the most direct ways, perhaps, to have communications unconsciously, subconsciously. It's a very interesting place to go. And why can things be so incredible in your dreams? Like, why can you fly in your dreams? Or why, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're out of body experiences, or it just shows that what's his name, Freud, I think, said it shows that we all have imaginations. The dreams show that we have imaginations. So that shows, anybody that has an imagination, including animals and fish and lobsters, etc., they can have yeah, they have an imagination.
Yeah, it's what's hilarious about that is that Freud, sorry, not Freud, Carl Jung actually was his work is based heavily on modern dream theory and how they sort of interpret this and the archetypal symbols and ancestral stuff. But also, he wrote the Red Book, where he went deep inside himself and talked to aliens and other entities. So I mean, so it's like
Yeah.
wait, so which is which here? Like the modern dream interpretation aspect through neuroscience says, okay, well, yeah, these are archetypal patterns and yada yada. But also, Carl Jung says the baby in the bathwater, right? Deep within you, there are entities that aren't any of these things that you can find and you can talk to. He even named it. I'll see if I can find the name. We delved this up probably a year ago or so. I can't remember the name of it, but I mean, as usual, right? Like, just because somebody says one thing correctly doesn't mean the next thing they say is going to be correct or whatever. But it is one of those bizarre things regarding Carl Jung that doesn't get a lot of actual pressure in the modern day, because they're like, that's a little too weird for us. We'll stick with the other stuff that kind of makes a little more sense,
Right. Yeah. Like both ideas. I think they're both pretty interesting. By the way, sharks, apparently they have to keep moving in order to get their oxygen to pass through their gills. So I'm not sure if they actually can. Other types are able to remain stationary because they have special structures called spiracles, which force water through their gills. But if they were to stop swimming, they would suffocate ultimately. Now, their eyes are perpetually open also, so they're able to rest, but I don't think that they can sleep. Hmm. They don't really, I don't know. I don't think they know for sure, but they said they watched her for several minutes. She just drifted in shallow water, but she kind of appeared catatonic, but she was still moving. I don't know if they have an idea yet about the shark thing.
I think since we can't interview them yet, it's just going to have to stay in the realm of mystery for the moment. But I do wonder, again, we've talked about animals dreaming and all the rest of that. And I think it's very evident, people that have dogs and cats, clearly this stuff is happening. I want to know how they tested insects for dreaming. You don't have to answer that. I think it's just a funny anecdotal aside.
The eye movement. I think they notice when they're not moving and their eye movement. If they're like if they're still. If they're if they're not moving, etc. There's other things, oxygen consummation and blood pressure, etc. Circadian rhythm. They're mentioning something about that. That's funny. Newborns enter sleep in a REM phase rather than an NRM phase. I don't know what NRM is, but this pattern lasts till they're 3 months old, and then their circadian rhythm becomes better established. How does that happen? Yeah, I think there's something about the circadian rhythm that we have to investigate. Like apparently when you go into space, your circadian rhythms changes because you're not on Earth anymore, and you'll have different sleeping patterns. Anyway, I think I'm pretty much done with talking about that.
Okay, let me. I haven't found the name of Carl Jung's entity yet, but check this out. He said this.
Okay.
In 1959, after having left the book, this is the Red Book, more or less untouched for about 30 years, Jung wrote a short epilogue. Quote, "To the superficial observer, it will appear like madness." End quote. just so you know, it's weird how some things get adopted as science and other things from the same minds are like, a little too weird to delve into, which is why that enter troubled minds. Let's delve into it. But yeah, great stuff. Go ahead. What else you got?
Okay, well, let me just check my notes 1 second. I think that's all I have to say about that. I was going to tell you, I had this dream that I was drowning in an ocean made of orange soda. Then when I woke up, I realized it was just a fantasy.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew that I could sense the setup coming a mile away. But also, speaking of insects and dreams, wouldn't that be sort of an insect level dream? Because that's like a terrifying sort of insect level dream.
Nightmare.
Exactly.
They're drowning. Yeah. They get stuck in the soda, they die. They get stuck in something sweet and sticky. And I have a joke for Night Stalker. For Derek. See, I have this weird dream every night that I'm keep filling my house up with unnecessary groceries. I think I have a Stockholm syndrome.
Shout out, Derek.
Okay.
the best grocer in the known multiverse. I love it, Daryl. As usual, appreciate you very much. Thanks for coming prepared and bringing the jokes and the levity, and you were the best, as you know.
Thank you. Great subject. Good night.
Thanks for the call. That's Daryl in New York. You know you love her. Again, been a good friend for a long time. If you haven't followed Daryl yet, you're doing it wrong. Go to troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It says follow Daryl here. And it's super easy. It's alphabetical. Click that. Go follow her YouTube channel and leave her a nice comment, pretty please. I know some of you have. Let's make it many of you have, and let's overwhelm Daryl with nice comments on her YouTube activity there. And there's again, she's very talented. You can find her singing karaoke here on our Discord as well. So which she was doing this afternoon before we started today. So if you're into singing karaoke, you love music. Again, Daryl is multi-talented, sings in English and French, has some Morgellon stuff, some paranormal stuff on her YouTube channel, as well as her singing and all the rest of this. Please go check it out. Again, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit, click Daryl, go leave her a nice comment on her YouTube videos, and join our Discord, troubledminds.org Discord on the top, and you'll catch her doing some karaoke from time to time. And it's super cool. I've done it. I've hung out with them. She's got a ton of talented friends, as I'm sure you're shocked to hear that, because we have a habit, right? But there's a lot of people in there that sing, but you're also allowed to sort of enter the rotation if you like to sing as well. So if you like to watch and hang out and kind of chat, there's like a little chat room on Zoom, or if not, you can listen and participate and also sing along with them, pick your songs and whatnot. So it's pretty cool stuff. So please do that. You're the best. Don't appreciate the call. Unless you want to add anything to the karaoke. That's okay. I'll bump her down, and love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. James, we got about a minute left if you got anything on what she said. I think there's a lot there, of course, but animals and dreams and insects dreaming, I don't know, maybe too weird for me, because I don't know. Is there anything too weird for me?
Well, this is funny because I do think that they can dream. I have two things about that. I'll just go with a quick one right now. There was this one time I was listening to Logan, my cat. She was snoring, and sometimes she'll snore, and that's usually about it. But this one time, I'll never forget. I don't know what was going on, if she was dreaming or what she was doing. She snored and meowed and growled at the same time. So I don't know if she was fighting something off or someone off on the sort of psychic or spiritual level or whatever, because I do think the animals can do that. That's a whole other topic. But it was really odd because I'd never heard her do that before or since.
That's a wild one. Animals do bizarre things, and so let's actually add that. So I've got some passed on puppers, very, very good boys. Is it possible for them to come back and visit you in your dreams in this psychic DMZ, as we're calling it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. How come this is the most obvious trope that gets talked about quite a lot? Is it real or nah? 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More on the way.
Symbols, whispers, and shadows. We've got maps where nobody goes. In the night under hidden glows, guardians of what no one knows. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. In cloaked silence we traverse the lines, through ancient scrolls in forgotten times. Voices echo in the halls of lore, guardians of the mysteries evermore. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. Shadows meet in cryptic disguise, our eyes sharp against the everlines. With silver threads we weave the stealth to guard the past, forgotten well. Signals bouncing off the astral plane, invisible codes that can't be tamed. We decode the stars under the midnight veil, a state and circumswed midnight hail. In the echoes of time where the legends lay, we tread the path where shadows play. With spectral eyes we discern the truth, unraveling tales from ancient youth. We seek...
Or something like that. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Matt's out. Gaston, what's up? Is it Tacklesy? That Tacklesy? I'm not sure how to say that. What's up? Welcome. I'm not sure if you changed your name or if you're new. If you're new, welcome to the thing. How you doing? Mindy's here. Welcome back. Don, APOC, what's up, sweets? Daryl, Jorge, Molly, and Joey, don't panic. Thank you for the call, Daryl. Fire stuff as always. I appreciate the jokes. The levity is great. And talent. Talent, right? Absolute talent. I got chat cheating. Is chat cheating a thing? Is it a new thing? What's going on over there on Rumble? We got Hiker, Gordo. What's up, YY? Mag has arrived. Puff, how you doing? Good evening, guys. Hope you're well. Raz is here. Hello. If I missed anybody, just say hi in the chat. I'll say hi back, trying to keep up with everybody. John Doe, how you doing? Says, I had a visit in a dream by an uncle that died 10 years before I was born. That's fascinating. Okay. All right. Yeah, we just leveled up with the ideas here. What's up, RC? Says, yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, you never met him. Yep, definitely. 100%. Hope you're doing well tonight. What's up, Jen? We got RC. My dog died 2 years ago, and she always shows up in my dreams now. There's a weird thing too. I'll explain it when we get back with my dogs, where I kind of see them out of the corner of my eye. It's weird. Like I'll look down and I just expect to see them there and they're not because you kind of saw them. Anyway, I'll ask that question too if you guys ever experienced that. What's up, Ioxy's here? Good evening. RC, thanks for the nice chat, guys. You guys are the best, as you know, Mr. Mission Control. And I don't know. It's weird. This is a weird one. Like I said, it's kind of a basic witch in terms of the ideas or a conspiracy 101 because this is, spirits and dreams. But what does it mean? And how weird does it get? And of course, the question becomes, are we going to be able to discover something soon-ish when it comes to technology? Because we're going to be able to crack dreams with this Neuralink stuff, which creeps me out, by the way, being able to tap into the brain and get like downloads. I don't know. Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. We got more from James. We got Matt's out and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking, I share my dreams with ghosts. How about this? What if dreams aren't private at all, but shared spaces, monitored zones, or ancient crossroads where ghosts wait for nightfall? Could sleep be less about rest and more about contact, transmission, or trespass? And of course, not just that, like I was just describing during the break there, is it possible that maybe some of these, there's crossover, there's bleed over into the real world as part of this? We're talking about sort of ancestors visiting in your dreams, granny kind of coming to say hi or things like this, or even getting messages. But what if it is, like I described during the break, your dog, my sweet little passed on fatty boys, as we called them, very, very good boys. They, both about 20-pound dogs, and we had them for 15 and 16 years respectively. But I swear to you, I see them out of the corner of my eye sometimes still. Like I'll see them down below out of the corner of my eye, and I'll look down and they're not there. Is that habit? Is that sort of entrained memories? What's going on with that? So I do wonder, and I'm not suggesting they're shadow people or they're ghosts or anything like that, but has that happened to anybody else? And I think maybe these are habits that we're used to seeing, and our brain is really kind of wrapped in these cycles. But, however, I don't know. Back to the ideas, is it possible your pets can visit you in those dream states? I don't know. As usual, no answers from me, but more questions. James, anything on that? Pets and dreams, and then we'll go to Matzel. Thanks for being patient, and Johnny on the spot, as you always are. Muted? Unmuted?
Yes, muted.
There you go.
There's just so many reports of that. You are not alone in that experience you've had. People are not alone if they've had encounters with their pets in dreams, their pets that passed on. It is something I come across every so often. So yeah, I think it's a thing that happens. It's just, again, that whole idea of one report of an experience may not mean much to some people, but you get thousands of reports over however long. That's kind of hard to just write off. So yeah, I think that's possible.
I like possible. I'm down for possible. What do you guys think? What is it with this? Again, it is probably the most obvious paranormal, one of the most. If it's not what is the most, I guess becomes the question. The paranormal trope, the most obvious paranormal trope that even normies will go, yeah, you know what? I've heard that. And maybe it seems like this might be the one, sort of encountering a deceased family member in your dreams. Not just, let's say, around the time they passed, but beyond that and years after. So what's going on with that? Is it sort of like that dog thing I'm saying? Where am I? I see the dog down there, but the dog's not there. I don't know. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thank you, James. Sorry for sneaking up on you there. Let's go to Matzo. Matthew in California. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you? Go right ahead.
Hey, Mike. Good show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I do have some experiences with this, but I wanted to real quick hit a pop culture reference and talk about a show I just rewatched called The Sandman, a Netflix series. And little spoiler alert on the show, it came out last season's. But in that show, there's parts where this one of the main characters can blend dreams together, other people's dreams together. And what ends up happening is one of the girls, she's having these dreams about her deceased husband. He's a ghost, and he broke free and lived in the dream realm. And every night when she dreams of him. And in one of their dreams, they're doing it, and she ends up getting pregnant in the real world. Of course, this is just a fictional story. But what about that? Like, what are the consequences of dreaming, and how could a ghost affect your dreams, come into your dreams? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I wonder that becomes really the question of sort of that liminal space of not just our dreams being our outlet out, but maybe it's also sort of the path back in. And it makes the most sense to me. This is where this stuff would happen, because it is an unquantifiable space as yet, and everybody's dream experience is going to be a little bit different. And these entities and Sandman, by the way, is fantastic. I haven't seen season 2. It just came out, right? Have you seen that one yet?
No, I'm rewatching the first season to catch up.
Okay, yeah. So
and then getting ready to watch the second season.
Yeah, the original Sandman's incredible. If you guys haven't seen it, we watched it around the same time together back when it first came out, and talked about it a couple times on different shows. Very, very good. I'm looking forward to part 2 here. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly sort of the idea. If you can maybe even stitch dreams, or maybe and the communal dreaming, we've talked about tandem dreaming in the past as part of this. That's the next technology. They're able to kind of, we're supposedly told that people are able to sort of get wired up together, sleep next to each other, and actually communicate in dreams in some way. So I wonder, sort of that dream stitching as you're describing might make some sense in terms of a space that we cannot quantify as yet, because it may be bigger than we ever dreamed.
Yeah, it's wild. But I had a story I want to share about kind of both of these topics. But one story I have is about my mother-in-law, Lacey, my wife, her mom. We were really close, and we did a lot of things together. We practiced witchcraft together. She taught me a lot of things. And she got sick, and one day, just out of nowhere, it's a random day, I'm standing in my room. I'm getting ready to go out for the day, and my door was closed. So I went to go walk out of the room and open the door. When I reached out my hand, the door opened itself. And I thought, okay, the wind, or maybe a cat had opened the door. Come to find out later that none of the cats even in that room. But when the door opened, I was accompanied by a very familiar smell. And this smell, I know this smell because Lacey's mom, we practiced witchcraft, and we sold things like at fairs. And I don't know if you've ever been in like a crystal shop, or like a new age store, it smells like incense, sage, all the candles, kind of has its own smell. And I smelled her. I smelled Lacey's mom. And it was kind of weird. But then come to find out, it was a couple hours later, one of the worst moments of my life, when I found out that she had passed away. And so, that whole experience was like kind of deep to me, because it kind of showed me that her spirit had come to visit me on her way out, and I didn't know yet.
Yeah,
I have more on that.
Yeah, that's thank you for sharing that super personal story, and it's not easy to talk about. It is one of those ones, though, that happens often. Like this is probably one of those ideas that people talk about a lot, because it seems to be a thing, like sort of a passing goodbye, right? And you not just get the sense, you get maybe some weird thing happen, like you said, with the door. I don't know, man. Like this stuff, like I said, for me, again, being as agnostic in all ways as I try to be, it's difficult for me to be like, okay, so how come all of these stories, or very, very many of them, are nearly identical? And that's the weird part, which keeps bringing me back, because who really knows, right?
Yeah, and I believe it is a sixth sense. The sixth sense of smell. It's smelling your grandma's perfume or smelling your grandpa's cigar. That's a thing that we hear in a lot of stories, and I experienced it. And I'm not really a person that likes smell, but it was just weird that that happened. And I do believe in that. I believe in being able to smell the dead, which doesn't sound good, but it's like a sixth sense. But then the story continues is that I started having these dreams. I had several of them, kind of reoccurring dreams, where I'm out and I'm camping with some friends and it's daytime, and we're having a good time camping. We're playing sports and listening to music, having a good time, eating, and then nighttime comes. We sit around the campfire and tell stories and laugh and have a good time. And it seems to be in these dreams. All of a sudden, something will happen where all of a sudden everyone else is gone, and Lacey's mom appears in this next to me at the campfire, and we have these like great conversations. We talk and we laugh and we have a good time. And I've had that same dream several times, and it seems so real. Like how you say vivid dreams. Like I can remember the next day what we were talking about. And I've had these dreams, but it seems that every time it's around the campfire, which is weird because why doesn't a regular dream, like a regular dream, happen? You can remember this stuff, but it seems like she was waiting for me to have that specific dream, or maybe forcing me to have a specific dream to be able to get to me to talk to me. Follow me?
Yeah, I follow that. That's incredibly wild, and it does sort of bring in that liminal space we're always talking about. I wonder if it has to be just so, like those doorways of perception we talk about, sort of in the waking realm. I wonder if those things exist in the dream realm as well, where it has to be just so. It has to be a particular place where maybe they're allowed back in, something like that. That makes a lot of sense. At least, again, thinking in metaphysical style terms of maybe how dreams might work if you could make these again, if all the things, all the disclaimers apply. But it does make some sense to me that it might be that a particular place is maybe a safe zone where these realms do come together, and that's maybe where this type of stuff happens. And notice too, a lot of these tales come from an old house we used to live in. Like you said, so maybe some nature space, those liminal spaces we've talked about in the past. It's weird that maybe, just maybe, you still need some level of magic in the dream realm to be able to make these actual meetings happen. That makes some sense to me, at least conceptually.
Yeah, and we did camp a lot together in real life, so maybe she was like recreating that dream for me and able for me to talk to her. I wonder if it's like we said, levels. Like I have to be down in my sleep, and then in the spirit world they can reach out and like somehow pop that bubble and jump into our dreams. I don't claim to know how any of this works, but I do feel it's weird. I have had several dreams with people that have passed on, and it's usually right when they do pass on. But I've had dreams with people that have been gone for a long time, and then they show up. So this is a great topic because we all dream, and I love the dream episodes. But when we're talking about someone that has passed on, energy doesn't go away. It's transformed. Energy doesn't die. It's transformed. So is there a way for any of our loved ones that are on the other side to communicate with us? I think it would probably be their best bet is to reach out to us in our dreams.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense too. And regarding, again, rest in peace, but what was your mother-in-law's name, her first name?
Elizabeth.
Rest in peace, Elizabeth. How about this? Now, this is wild. This gets weird. Now, this is an article from eTech Online, and we talked about this about 6 months ago, a year ago when this happened. But shared dreams and the future of sleep synchronization. And like I said, those two people laying next to each other, I wonder if, let's say, they put us in the lab and maybe you were able to lucid dream and bring Elizabeth in and say hi. I wonder if you hooked us together, if I could meet her. You know what I'm saying? Like conceptually, if this type of like technology would start to bridge the gap between these ancestral spirits of ourselves, and maybe you would be able to meet my grandmother. You know what I mean? In these cases,
That'd be wild.
You think something like that is possible? I mean, because again, we're now bridging the gap between these tandem dreams through science. So I don't know what's your take there. Seems out there, seems way out there, but I do wonder. Huh?
Yeah, there's a technique I've talked about before called psychic dream walking, and it's that same kind of thing where you reach out to someone else that's asleep, and you can practice it with people. You know, say tonight when I go to sleep, and if you're asleep, you know, try to think of me or dream of me before you fall asleep. And if you're both asleep at the same time, can you? The technique is creating the space of your dream, like going lucid, creating a space, and then reaching out to the other person in their dreams, grabbing them and pulling them in. And I had this experience with a friend because we both read the same book. It's called Psychic Dreamwalking by Michelle Ballinger, and practice the techniques. And I had the dream. Me and him were in this dream. Me and him were in this like a temple, and it had candles everywhere. And then I told him about my dream, and he said, "Well, in his dream, we were in a place, and there was torches on the wall." And so the combined, I saw candles in my dream, he saw torches in his dream. Were we dreaming of the same place, and maybe our subconscious, kind of made it backwards? But to me, candles, torches, in some way, it feels like we had a shared dream experience.
Yeah, of all the things to dream about, it seems pretty close. Almost as if maybe you were right there. Like, what if the torches led to the room with the candles? You know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing. Very, very Dungeons and Dragons-esque, But yeah, because again, of all the things to dream about, you could have dreamt about, the future or flying saucers or whatever, like the 1850s, whatever. But very similar sort of aspects. The aesthetic of the dream itself makes you wonder, huh?
Yeah, man. I was to say, yeah, I do believe it's a thing. I believe, and I don't quite understand how to explain it, but there is a way for you to go down and for them to come up and kind of meet in the middle. It's kind of like, paranormal ghost stories we have now, where there's cold spots, and like we can lower our vibration down, and they can raise their vibration up, and we meet in the middle. And I believe that's kind of what's going on with these dream cycles, that as we're going through these cycles of our brainwaves, maybe there's a way that they can raise their vibration and catch up to us and grab our dreams.
Yeah.
Super weird how dreams work. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, I especially love the drawing you to a particular place where you're able to meet them, some place familiar. So maybe there's less, energy static, like you can, okay, here's a space that's familiar, and you can, kind of ease into that. I don't know. All of this is super weird. I got some stuff on mutual dream experiences, but what else you got? Go ahead. Or James, if you got anything for Matthew.
Just great call so far. I do think that with the technology aspect too, there's been so many accounts of ghosts or spirits being able to manipulate technology. So I do wonder with that idea of connecting people somehow through technology while they're sleeping. I wonder if that could really be attained, that connection, and sort of introducing others to their others' ancestors or relatives that passed on. That seems possible. And yeah, I do think a familiarity is also an important thing. More than, I would say, that at least 3 or 4 experiences I've had where I got visitations from my grandparents. They took place in the house that used to belong to them. So that really makes sense to me that would be a thing. And I've gone there in other dreams without them being there. So yeah, I think that definitely makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, what else you got, Matthew? If you're petered out, that's cool too.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you guys for this good show.
Appreciate the call. You are the best, as you know. Tell Lacey we said hello. It was a pleasure, and you have a great night, my man.
All right, thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you. Take care. You know him, you love him. That's Matthew in California. The Temple of the Owl is the name of his podcast, his radio show. Please go check that out. You can find that at templeoftheowl.com, or of course, just search it yourself. Why would you do that when he's got this nice website? Or troubledminds.org/friends. Matt's Owl. That's affectionately Matt's Owl. That's a spirit animal. That's what we call him, the friends. So, you know, Matthew is your friend, Matt's Owl. And go give him a follow. Amazing stuff. And as you can tell, he's into this, obviously, but he's also got this, and I say this a lot because he's told me about it, and it's incredible that he's got this massive esoteric book collection that he's kind of going through and synthesizing those ideas into his podcast. So do check that out. I'm nearly certain you're going to be very pleased with the things he's talking about, because I'm learning stuff from him all the time that he's kind of drawn out from things he's read, things he's practiced, things he's heard, and some of these other conversations. But Temple of the Owl is the name of the podcast. Please go give him a follow. Check out his merch store. It's all there. All the stuff is on his website. And yeah, at templeoftheowl.com. Appreciate you, my man. And yeah, regarding the dream stuff, I want to, let's see, touch on this real fast. Now, this is bizarre. So regarding, and I'll have these studies listed. These are from actual, quote, science studies, okay? Take it for what it's worth, as usual. Just because a scientific study says something doesn't make it true, but also it kind of leads you down a path of, you know, where you go, okay, well, if so, what does this mean? Sort of the next step. What would be the next scientific step? But check it out. So research into shared dreaming reveals compelling evidence that dreams may indeed serve as communal spaces, which is, again, this is amongst people still of this realm, okay? But think of it, of course, at scale. Studies document that 92% of reported mutual dreams occur between two people, with 42% involving relatives, 27% significant others, and 27% friends. So it's almost as if you have to have a close connection to these people to allow them into your dreams and vice versa, which makes a ton of sense. Almost as if there's some sort of psychic shield as part of that. Back to the DMZ that we were talking about, sort of a networking term that in this case would be that psychic DMZ as part of it, not allowing, you know, randos into your dreams. There has to be some level of comfort to allow them in. But that's a massive number, 92%. So 42% involving relatives, 27% significant others, 27% friends. I'll pull this study up and I'll share it in the chat. It will be linked in the description down below if you want to read up on this. These shared experiences typically manifest when dreamers are physically separated and experiencing emotional distance, suggesting that dreams may function as a compensatory mechanism for maintaining connection across both physical and psychological boundaries, which again, once you start to strip all this back, aside from the physical boundaries, this is what Troubled Minds is all about. Is this stuff possible? Is it possible to communicate in other ways as yet defined by science? And that becomes the weird part. There's more to this. So the phenomenon extends beyond simple coincidence. Contemporary research demonstrates that dream sharing technology can facilitate actual communication between sleeping individuals, which is that exact thing I was just talking about, which is this new thing they did. Recent experiments have achieved two-way communication with lucid dreamers where sleeping participants successfully responded to mathematical questions posed by researchers. This breakthrough suggests that the boundaries between individual consciousness during sleep may be more permeable than previously understood. And so if that's the case, once again, scale it, and suddenly, if those boundaries of individual consciousness are more permeable, what does it mean when an ancestral spirit arrives in your dreams? That's what's on my mind tonight. About a minute left. If you got anything, James, if not, I can fill some space here because I got tons of stuff to get to.
Oh, well, one thing I'll say now, and then one thing I'll save for if there's time later. And that's a shared dream experience that two of my relatives had. But I had a dream years ago, and it felt like more than a dream. It felt like there were presences there, where I was out in the middle of nowhere in the country, just like fields and forests and everything. And I was with family that I recognized that were alive, but there were also people there that looked like the family, and we were all at this huge family gathering. But I didn't recognize these other people, but I got a sense they were family. And I don't know what that was, if that was one of my weird alternate universe experiences that I had before I realized that's what it was, or if that was some kind of a spiritual gathering. If I wondered, there's no way to know now because it happened years ago. Did some other family members also have a similar dream at the same time?
I wonder. And what do you guys know about it? Clearly, we've got some dreamers out there as part of this group. What do you know about this? Not just sharing your dreams with ghosts. What about scaling that idea of a permeable consciousness? And how weird does it get? Love to hear what you think about it. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Be right back. More on the way. We got another half the show. What do you know about dreams? Is it possible to share them with ghosts? More on the way.
In the shadows of the networks do they hide? Whispered legends unseen they reside. Ghosts in the machine, they move so fast. Guardians of rumors from the forgotten past. In the circuits where the secret lies, they breathe in one, speak in disguise. Machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine. Let me be. Ghost in the machine. Can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. Surveillance eyes can't pierce the veil they weave. Invisible wisdom in code they believe. In the ether where freedom's not confined, they leave no trace, no shadow left behind. They navigate through the digital stream, living legends in this privacy dream. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, can't see, but you're teaching me what it needs to be. Through the hidden ways, in the silence, will pick up their path. Those in the machines unleash their wrath. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. In the jagged cold they find their might, guardians of a world forever in twilight. Incursions warriors they silently strive, protect the truth, keep privacy alive. The silent echoes they haunt the trails, hideaway forests where secrets prevail. Breathe shadows grace they dance unseen, defenders of the unseen digital dream. Ghosts in the machine, you're free. Ghosts in the machine, let me be. You're teaching me what it means to be. In the silence, they speak volumes loud. Guardians of freedom's cloak and initial shroud. As long as shadow.
I feel like that song finally hits its stride at the very end there. Like it, I'm like, oh. Has it got to end? Has it really got to end? What's up? Hope you guys are well tonight. What's up, Ricky Gaston, Matsell? I didn't get the name right. Mindy Sweets, Daryl. What's up? Thank you, Daryl, for the call. You're great. Joey, El Demente. What's up, Jorge? Dawn, APOC, and Joey. Don't panic. I see you guys. Hope you're doing well tonight. And once again, sorry about that. I'll get the names right. I'm usually good at picking up names. Tacklesley. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciations there. Sorry about that. I'm only me. There we go. Trouble Minds coming up. If you missed anybody in the chat, say hi. I'll say hi back. Puff, Hiker, I see you. Why? Good evening, guys. Raz. All right, here we go. Trouble Minds happening. Meow. back. Yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. All the places, all the things. 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. We're talking, hey, look, is it possible to share your dreams with ghosts? If this is that liminal space of the permeability of consciousness, as I said before the break there, what does this mean? And is it possible that eventually we're going to be able to really find a way to create, I don't know, like a pocket universe we can share together or something? I don't know. And then how wild does it get? For instance, let's say that back to that study we were talking about, and again, I will link all this as usual. Look, I don't like to say things that I can't cite and link back to you. So if you guys haven't joined the Discord, these actual perplexity deep dives go into the after show chat. So if you want to dig into this, I will also pull this up and drop it in the chat in a moment here. But this is coming from particular science studies. Okay. So again, we're taking it, looking at it, saying, okay, so if this is the case, what does that look like at scale? Okay. And that in that particular instance, physical, psychological boundaries. Okay. So let's see. The phenomenon extends beyond simple coincidence, that shared dreaming. Contemporary research demonstrates that dream sharing technology can facilitate, as I was saying there, actual communication between sleeping individuals. And the breakthrough suggests that the boundaries between individual consciousness are going to be a little more foggy and weird than we ever dreamed. All right. And it goes back to Carl Jung. He talked about this often. And like I said, modern dream interpretation is based on Carl Jung's work. However, as I said previously, when we started tonight, that also Carl Jung wrote the Red Book, which is nutters. And I mean that in the nicest way, because of course he was a genius in a lot of ways, but he was able to go deep into his own psyche and talk to an entity that wasn't him. It wasn't his shadow. It was something else, something outside of him that he found within him. I know it's weird. I know it sounds deep, sounds ridiculous, but also he's the godfather of modern, psychotherapy, right? So which is it? As usual, right? Which is it? You can throw one thing out and go, nah, that's nuts. But then the other stuff, you're like, oh yeah, Mike, if you dream about flying, this means that you've got anxiety about yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. You see what I mean? So which is it? And as usual, the point is it's complicated. But what do you know about it? Can you share your dreams with ghosts? Is it possible these liminal spaces like the campfire, as Matzel talked about, shout out Matzel, fire call, or the old house where, you haven't been in years, your grandparents used to live in or something? Why are these those liminal spaces that end up in your memory? And not only that, clearly they're familiar, but is this where these connections can take place? It gets strange. As usual, this stuff is very strange. And I got tons of stuff to get to, but I'd rather hear from you guys. Why is it that one of the most common paranormal tropes is meeting a deceased ancestor in your dreams? Why? And have you ever experienced this? Got tons of stuff to get to. If you guys want to get weird, I can get weird, as you know. Don't make me get too weird, because then we'll start talking about the dreams of viruses. Anyway, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James, anything to add to that before I get super weird?
Well, I said I had a shared dream experience that two of my relatives had. I can go into that as quick as I can here, but
no hurry. Go ahead.
This happened years ago. Okay, yeah, and this happened years ago. It was between a mother and a son living in the same house. One morning, the mother came down to breakfast and to eat breakfast and everything, and everyone was there. And she said, I had this weird dream about being in a car. We were going down the road, and the road was blocked up ahead, and there were people that looked like soldiers up ahead, and we were all turned around. We had to go back, and there was sounds of like a battle going on beyond the blockade. But the sense that my relative got was that it was not just a battle between humans, it was a battle between humans and other beings. And so the car was turned around and the road was bumpy and everything. And at one point, after that, my relative, her dream ended. And that just after that, her son said, well, yeah, I think I know where it ended for you, because on one of those bumps on the road, I was in the car as well. And on one of those bumps on the road, it made you hit your head on the side of the car, and you seemed to fall asleep. and the dream went on for him for a little while, and then he of course it faded for him too. But you had the moment of one person exiting the dream somehow, being witnessed by the other person also sharing the same dream.
That's weird. That almost sounds like one of those ayahuasca trips, man, where everybody's having the same like shared hallucination. That's wild.
That, or as I always sort of think about this because of so many amount of experiences, were they seeing another dimension, another version of the world, other versions of themselves? Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously that hasn't happened yet. There hasn't been anything like that in their area, and it's just really wild that the one relative saw the other relative leave the dream essentially, and didn't realize it until after the dream was over for them, and they talked about it the next morning. So it really is. It just, whenever I think about that, just all kinds of questions show up, and yeah. So I just want to share that because it's not just it's like they had confirmation in a way that they were sharing the same experience by the one seeing the other fall asleep in the dream and then talking about it after the fact and realizing, oh, that's what happened. That's why you woke up. But in the dream, they fell asleep. So I don't know.
Of course, the opposite, right? The opposite's got to happen. It's so weird. All this is so weird. Now, regarding, I was talking about the psychic DMZ earlier, sort of it's a networking term again for security purposes. Do you think that maybe we encounter incursions? Because this is what this would become, right? It would become, oh, hey, Mike, I'm gonna come infect your dream and give you nightmares, right? If lucid dreamers could do something like that, then you would assume there would have to be some sort of firewall built in so that stuff couldn't happen. Or maybe it does happen in tiny doses and we're experiencing each other all the time in dreams, maybe just barely a glimpse in like a crowded room or something. And I don't know, like regarding that, recognizing that there's something happening in a tandem dream, like we always talk about, is wild, that it corroborates it. But then what about that actual block? Is there sort of a psychic block that keeps people out of your dreams, sort of a latent security system that we have in a metaphysical way? You ever heard anything about that?
Not so much as far as it just being there. I've had experiences where I had a week straight of nightmares, and I mentioned this before too, and I just could not figure out why I was having just all these nightmares. And I got this feeling this one day after this had happened, where I needed to take these crystals I had, these quartz crystals, and put them under my pillow. And I did that, and the nightmares stopped. So I wonder, even if there's not, maybe, I don't know if there is a system that's already set up, but I think that people have probably throughout time found different ways, whether it's crystals or whatever else, sort of mantras before that they say to themselves before they go to sleep, just thinking certain ways. I can imagine that. So yeah, I wonder if there's maybe ways that people, whether they even are conscious of it or not, somehow are able to set up their own safeguards.
Yeah, and also too, fascinating that you say quartz was something that kind of alleviated the pressure of the dream, the recurring dream, and the nightmares. Another one that's been talked about in the past for sort of dream helping, or maybe even sort of these psychic shields. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I don't think anybody really is amethyst. Is one of the ones that's amethyst is sort of that dream crystal that they say that. And look, I've never tried. I should try. I have amethyst in the house. I should try this and put it under my pillow and see if something changes. Because as you guys know, I've talked about my dreams, not very much because I don't remember them at all, unless they're super jarring, super weird, super scary. That's kind of it. Like I don't have any, Elysium level dreams. It's always the ones I remember are just the most goofy, ridiculous, or scary things. But surely, I mean, I've had a nice dream before, haven't I? Why don't I remember them? Maybe not enough amethyst under the pillow. I'll try that. Anybody tried that? Let's go to crystals for a second too, as well. If you guys have experience with that, I'd love to hear if some of this works, how it works, what your theory is on how it sort of fits with the dream space entirely. Anything else there, James? We got Jen on deck. We'll go to her in a moment. If you got, unless you got anything else, go ahead.
Just real quick, I'm pretty sure the other crystal I have is amethyst, and I tried adding it sort of to my defenses, and I had more dreams, and I had just weirder dreams when I did that. So maybe try it once and see how it goes. And I don't know a ton about crystals, so maybe there's other things you're supposed to do to it before you do that. But just I would say try things out and go with what works for you.
I only know a little bit, and I know that amethyst is the dream crystal, and I know that clear quartz like that is sort of the universal amplifier. So if you use them together, you're amplifying your amethyst. So if you did that, maybe that's what happened.
Could be, yeah, because I don't do that anymore. I only have the quartz, the different kinds of quartz. That's what I use now.
There you go. Anybody know anything about this? Like I said, I don't know. As usual, the science out there would say scientific consensus is, Mike, this is pseudoscience. This is ridiculous. But then, of course, now we're learning that you can tandem dream, that you can control it to some extent, and very soon we may be able to inject each other in our dreams, very much like Inception, which seemed like a ridiculous thing 15 years ago whenever that movie came out. But suddenly, we've got technology where it's like, this works. What do you guys know about it? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thanks for being patient. Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. How are you? You're on with Mike and James. Go right ahead.
Hey, what's up? You guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear. You sound great. Just chilling, talking dreams and ghosts and all the things that Troubled Minds does. What do you know about it? And take it anywhere you like, as you know.
I haven't done anything with crystals at all, but I had this experience. I've talked about it before, but I'll go over it just real briefly. So when I used to live out in the woods, there was a creek, in quotes, that was like a river, basically. It was tremendous. It was a creek when it was low, but when it would rain, it would turn into this huge river. And I'd go down there and I'd find those, they're called like hagstones, holy stones, things like that. And I picked up a whole bunch of them, and I found just probably over a dozen of them. And I had heard, you could wear them and look through them, and you could see into the other side. So I began to implement that. I began sleeping with one on. I picked one particular one, and I started having extremely bizarre dreams. It was every night there was this like story, basically. And it had to do with the land. Like I would see where I lived and down in the valley. And then it would progress, each night till eventually I had to take it off because it was just so strange. So I had that experience with those. But I do wonder if you were to give that to somebody else, 'cause I just quit wearing it. I literally was just like, that's getting too strange. I think it's connected to the rock. I'm just not going to sleep with it anymore. And I just said it, I didn't use it anymore. But I wonder if you were to give that to somebody else, if they would have the same effect.
Yeah, agreed. Or if some of that, let's say your weird dream energy kind of, as we talk about, I talk about this all the time, that human latent energy, and even sort of absorbing into the world around us. If maybe some of your weird dream energy kind of amplified that now and somebody else uses it and it's like even more wacky than when you got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, because it was untouched. It was just at the bottom. It was down in that riverbed, for however long. But that was the effect that it had. Now, on the other hand, I wanted to go back kind of like, why are the spirits in the dream realm? And I have wondered this because I've wanted to confirm to myself if they actually were, because I have had several dreams of family members and had passed on. And I've heard many stories about it, and it got me onto a search of looking into it. And what I kind of discovered was that was easiest to come across was when I was looking into the underworld, that it seemed as if interpretations of the underworld, and especially came across a group, it was it's Orphism, the Orphic cults. cults of Orpheus. And they talk about in it that they got this, and I looked beyond them too, to kind of go even further back. But starting with them initially, they are the ones kind of responsible for mapping the Greek underworld. The Styx, Lethe, the river of forgetfulness that you drink from so you don't remember again. There's another one called Nemesis, I think. Can't remember how it's pronounced. It's like MN, so on and so forth. And it's you drink from one and you forget and you're reincarnated and you don't remember your previous life. And the other one, if you drink from it, you remember everything and you kind of go off into like another level of existence. It's for like exalted souls or something. And I was wondering where they got that idea from to begin with. And it goes the Greeks in general. And it goes more into the Orphic cult, where they essentially, in this cult, mapped the underworld through different rituals. They would go into that realm. And they had, even in particular, that's lake, or not that lake, that river Lethe, it was supposedly under a cypress tree. And the other one was under a poplar tree. They had mapped it out very specifically. And they would put these gold, I don't know what they're called, but they were these gold tablets in the graves to help guide the dead in that realm. But what they linked it to that was so profound was that there was also this sort of the world of the dreaming state and the vision state is where they would get these maps for the underworld for the dead. And then if you trace that back even further, where did the Orphic cults get it from? They got it more from north, like Thracian cults that had similar belief systems. But you will see that in these Indo-European stories, this is going back before Rome was even anything. You're going back a very long time ago. And so worldwide, it seemed, in that region at least, they were sharing these beliefs about the underworld. But the underworld was the same world as visions and imagination and dreams. The world of the dead, that's where they lived. And so did all these gods of that world too. And there were particular gods for that. And there was this whole, and it was just as real as this world, but it was the underworld. So when we go into a dream, I think that we are going into the underworld. And it is the world that's been talked about. And I think that was kind of built and guided over eons of time and nurtured to where that world was maybe more real than it is now, or maybe it's just as real. I don't know. But I think that is what that realm is. We hear about in all the folktales and things.
Yeah, the interesting thing too about that to me, because there's many layers here, is the rivers. Shout out our friend Rivers there. Is that they are those barriers, those metaphysical barriers. So I wonder if this side of those rivers, where maybe it's where we commingle, and then once you cross, it gets metaphysically sticky, I guess you might say. So I don't know. Those different, what is there, 7 or there's 9, I think, different rivers down there that all have different properties and things.
I remember there's the one in particular that I was looking at was Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Was in particular, I was interested at the time that I was looking it up about how we forget, and then how we can be reminded of things. Like you can have a dream and see things that you've forgotten about entirely, but it is down to the most precise detail that you've forgotten yourself, but you still recall it. And I think that is some kind of an overlay, and like there's some sort of source water issue, because if you drink from Lethe in the underworld, like the whole idea, you will forget. But if you drink from the other, you remember everything. So some memories that you were giving up when you drank from that one river, the other one also contains all of them. So I also wondered too, was it from just that lifetime or from all of the lifetimes? So I think that those rivers do share the same life, like the same source water. They interpreted this as shades, that we were all in a shade, and that the world on the surface was the same world as the underworld, but it was interpreted differently. So these poplar trees and cypress trees, they would look at rivers and things like that in their own environment, and they were the same world, but it was the shade of this world.
Yeah,
it was inhabited by all these entities and ourselves too.
Which makes some sense that's where maybe we would encounter an ancestral spirit, like kind of on the banks of, the river Styx. That would make some sense, huh?
Yeah, it sure would. I think we do encounter them, and that they are. That is the reason that they're in the dream realm, is because that is the realm of not just dreams and imagination, but also of our deceased loved ones, and we all spend some time there. That's why they call, even when you think about sleeping, it is so similar. And it's described the same in so many ways, but it's really interesting.
Definitely, definitely. Regarding, do you think there is sort of a psychic barrier there, where, let's say, dream incursions happen all the time, except we're not allowed to sort of cross the barrier of, getting into Mike's dreams or whatever. And of course that would scale and go to everybody. I don't know. Do you know anything about that?
I think it would make us all sort of like priests and priestesses if we did that. Because when you're uniting the worlds that way, if you keep complete constant track of that realm as well as living in this one, if you're able to recall your dreams at will every night and then remember them as precisely as they are, which they are much more complex than you remember. They have a lot more detail, just as much detail as this waking world. So it's as if you were to be able to do that with some dedicated work, I think it would make you able to see worlds at the same time. So you're kind of walking between the rows of the world, you're being able to see that. And you could, I think, receive information and operate that way very easily.
Yeah, makes sense. And we're not tripping, right? That this is one of the most obvious paranormal tropes, that people experience this ancestral spirit, right? It's to me, it seems very 101, but I get so lost in the sauce sometimes with wild ideas that maybe it's not. What's your take on that?
Well, it's really incredible, I think, if you think about like that people have interpretate when they do see their deceased loved ones in dreams. They are versions of themselves that I didn't know in my normal life. Sometimes, on some occasions, they are not the way that I knew them. They are in different versions of themselves, and many people interpret that. That's how they see them. That's how they're appearing to the person who's experiencing it. I think that that's a connection with that realm, that it's blended in the way that it is. If you were to lose contact with this world too much, though, that you could begin to sort of blend them together. I think there's some concern, actually, that there's some kind of gatekeeping occurring, that there are entities, just like the people who, I guess people, not people, but the gods and the goddesses that guard over that realm, that allow you to drink from the river or not to, or if you choose, but they're kind of the psychopomp of that region of the underworld, that they exist and they will cross that barrier, I think, into the living realm if people are, pursuing that path. Many people count for the challenges of pursuing the path of walking between the worlds like that. And they come in contact with things that are half human and all kinds of bizarre things. People interpret them as demons and things like that. But they are gatekeepers, I think, of that realm to some extent.
Yeah, I love that. The psychopomp kind of comes to bear with the car on the boatman and the rest of that stuff. It's a weird space. Like it's ultra liminal, and then it's ultra scaled because there's a dream realm for all of our minds. So I would think it's got to be somewhere, and so mapping it and kind of placing it in this space makes a lot of sense to me. As if we sort of return to this weird, ever-changing realm that, well, how would you describe it? Is other than the dream realm? I got about a minute left. If you got anything else, and you're welcome to stay if you got more.
Well, I'll just say this one last thing. When I was looking into with the Orphic cults, the cults of Orpheus, the way that they came across that information was through trance-like states and in communion with what they did refer to as the spirits. They also were seeing this realm in a living form. They were seeing it, and they also believed that that was the realm of the dead. So we are able to access that same world in that same dream state, or even in the dreamscape of a waking vision. So that realm is actually a real realm. It was enough to them, and I think that they existed for like 600 years. That was a and beyond that, they received that information from those who came before them otherwise. So that information is passed down. I think we're still carrying it today.
Wouldn't surprise me a single bit. You were the best. That link will be in the description. Both the things we talked about. Appreciate the call. Always a pleasure. Have a fantastic one. Jen, the Arcane Observer. You know you love her. Again, not just the Arcane Observer, but also the co-host of Salcedo Paranormal on the weekends. And thanks for calling. Thanks for the ideas. And please give her a follow. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Jen here. It's alphabetical. Super easy. Like I said, if you're not following our friends at this point, if you're not following Jen and James and all the rest of these amazing people, you're hurting my feelings. Please do it. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Jen there. Go check out our YouTube channel and Salcedo Paranormal. Be right back. More on the way. What do you guys know about dreams, incursions, tandem dreaming, and all the rest? More on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Jungle, machines hum, a digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky. As knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In this massive data center dome, eternal truth start to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire. Data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams. Unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital maze, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate.
Indeed, there's your midnight Eastern a Stargate ritual. Hope you guys are well tonight. Thanks for all the great calls and the great ideas. I don't know. It's weird, right? A lot of weird things we can consider and talk about. And yeah, I'll get to that in a sec. Let's say hi to the chat. Thanks, Jen, for the call, and James for sticking in here. You're the best. What's up, Gaston? Matt's out. Mindy. What's up, Joey El Demente? What's up, Dawn? Joey, don't panic. We got APOC Sweets, Daryl, and our new friend. I'm not sure. Maybe you're an old friend, but changed your name. You tell me. Let's see. That is Tacklesy. Again, I'm sorry for the mispronunciations. I'll get it. I got roving fungus. I'll get this. I will survive. What's going on? Who did I miss? What's up, Raz over there? So Raz says this over on Rumble. Thanks for pinning that. Dreams are the real reality, and the mundane lives we experience are the break from the madness of our real experience. Yeah, it is odd how these things come together, right? That's the whole point. That's definitely the point. Yep. Is YouTube popping? YouTube's always popping. What's going on, guys? Yeah. Please give Jen a follow if you guys have not. Link tree is there. Thank you, Hiker, for sharing that, and everybody else for sharing the links and helping each other out as part of this, part of the growth process together. I never considered that maybe some of these places like the banks of the river Styx, the barrier of these rivers, might be where we actually meet. Maybe this is the dream space. And I wonder, imagine with technology being able to draw out like an exact map, as we've talked about in the past. What's up? I hope you guys are well. Let's roll. We've got more Troubled Minds coming up. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. What do you know about it? Why do we see ancestors in our dreams, and how weird does it get? Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, what if dreams aren't private at all, but shared spaces, monitored zones, or ancient crossroads where ghosts wait for nightfall? Could sleep be less about rest and more about contact, transmission, or even trespass? And if so, who or what is reaching out through the veil? That becomes a question tonight. As usual, we're going with the I share my dreams with ghosts as the tagline, ripped off from Andor. Now I can put it to bed in my head and not have to go back to it. However, it's an interesting thing to consider that not just, let's say, new science has suggested that we're able to link people together in these dream states. And this is the infancy of this technology. What happens when we're able to even start to map what this dream space becomes? And back to the studies we talked about, there's a massive correlation between friends, people in deep relationships, lovers, husbands, wives, this type of thing, and family members showing up in your dreams. Almost as if you need permission. Permission needs to be granted, which, by the way, in that sort of arcane sense, shout out Jen, the arcane observer, in the arcane sense of the old ways, almost as if there are these barriers where you need permission. And we've talked about this in the past, where the spirit needs permission to come in. And if you do not provide said permission, there's that sort of mental barrier or mental block as part of it. Lots of things to get to. Why do you guys think that there's this whole idea of ancestors in our dreams? And is it, once again, Jungian? Is it latent memories returning? Or do you think it's possible that these are actually the entities, the actual entities, and we're meeting them in some liminal space? So, of course, the questions are, have you dreamed of someone at the exact moment they died? We talked about that earlier. Do you think dreams are only internal, or have you experienced something that felt external, like a visitation, like the dogs, like I was talking about, that type of thing? I don't know. Well, we talked about sleep paralysis recently. I don't think we need to hit that, but there's a lot of ways to look at this and a lot of ideas to consider as part of it. And what happens when you start to deconstruct the dream realm itself? Very Inception-like. Inception was a fantastic movie. But remember, if you saw that, spoiler alert for a 15-year-old movie or 20-year-old movie, whatever it was, but they were trying to get into his dream state, into dreams within dreams, to drop an idea so deeply in his subconscious that the individual thought it was his own idea. What about that? And is this where we're headed with this, again, shared dreams, the future of REM sleep synchronization? It's a wild time to be alive, because I tell you what, in the next 5 years, with the acceleration I'm always talking about, maybe this is where we're headed. I don't know. Anything on any of that, James? And I got tons of stuff to get to, as you know, I always do.
Yeah, great call from Jen. Looking forward. We took last weekend off from the usual show for because of the holidays and the fireworks and all that. But yeah, looking forward to doing another show with her on Saturday. And yeah, I do love the idea, and I wonder if it's how it works too. The idea that the underworld or the other side is not just sort of consciousness or souls or spirits or ghosts of those that have passed. It's also connected to imagination, connected to the thoughts and the minds of everyone that exists. And I've heard this idea before, and I don't remember where now, maybe from multiple places, where spirits stay around as long as they are remembered. They exist in some form. And then once other people have passed on that remembered them and no one else does, that's when they completely fade away. It's just a concept I've heard of. I don't know if it's right or not, but it seems like it's a possibility, especially if you factor in the idea of that co-creation that we talked about before. Not just it's usually associated with other paranormal experiences or anomalous experiences while people are awake, but I wonder if that can happen also in the dream world as well.
Yeah, the first time I heard that idea of the entity fading away when there was nobody left alive to remember them was from Coco. You guys ever seen that movie Coco? It was about Dia de los Muertos and exactly that idea. It's a very sad thing to consider that we're only as prevalent as the human memory allows. And I don't know. So I guess raise hell and people will remember you forever. I mean, it depends on how you look at it, right? Or raise heaven and people will look at you and remember you forever. I mean, those are the types of ideas of this. And so I'm sure, so that's a, I don't think it was Disney Pixar. It was somebody else, I believe. But if you haven't seen that movie Coco, do it and get some tissue. It is a tearjerker, that movie, and it's a cartoon. But I'm pretty sure that that's an ancient idea. Where it came from, I don't know. I'm with you that the first time I heard of it was Coco, from that newer-ish animation. But clearly, those ideas have been with us for a very long time. And it's sort of the ancestral worship, the spirits, and sort of being able to connect with them in some way, the shamanic journey. It all fits into this, which is, again, wild and why we talk about these ideas. But what do you know? Have you ever experienced a dream with an ancestral spirit? An actual family member that came back in your dreams? And is this the only space we can actually do that properly within the rules of, let's say, the cosmos? But here we go. So check it out. Regarding this, there's again, love to hear your thoughts instead of hearing me ramble on, but I'll be here all night. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And James, again, Johnny on the spot. Appreciate you sitting in on this. This is where this gets weird. Well, it's been weird the entire time. More weird. And this fits into what Jen was saying as well. Think about this. So the transitional states between waking and sleeping, known as hypnagogic and hypnopompic experiences, create particularly potent conditions for otherworldly contact. These liminal phases of consciousness involve visual, auditory, and other types of these hallucinations in the dream state. They can include encounters with entities, communication with deceased individuals, or perception, as James has been describing, of alternate realities. So I do feel, as part of this conversation and conceptually speaking and thinking about it, that maybe the dream realm is the ultimate liminal space. It's where we have access to everything. We just don't know how to interpret it and bring it back, which is, again, not a new idea. Absolutely not. But check this out. And again, this stuff will be linked after the description, after the show, in the after show chat, and in the description. So you can fact check me on this. Research indicates that 37% of people experience hypnagogic hallucinations, with 12.5% reporting hypnopompic experiences with entities. These states create what researchers describe as windows of connection with the outside world that temporarily open during specific moments of sleep. The brain activity patterns during these periods suggest that consciousness may be accessing information channels typically unavailable during full wakefulness. And I'm pretty sure that doesn't shock anybody here. We have this wild thing happening. We spend so much of our lives asleep, almost as if you could have another entire lifetime built into that space, or multiple. Because if we talk about time dilation and sort of those dream effects, it's weird, right? But here's the thing. So the neuroscience is this. So scientific investigation reveals that sleep creates unique conditions for paranormal phenomena. Studies consistently show associations between sleep disturbances and increased paranormal beliefs, with poorer sleep quality correlating with a stronger conviction about ghosts, demons, afterlife communication, and extraterrestrial contact. Trust the science, right? This relationship suggests that sleep states may genuinely facilitate encounters with, not entities, but with non-ordinary reality. And that's the point. That's the problem here. There is an issue of which is the real. As usual, we talk about simulation theory, or we talk about these sleep states as maybe that's the real realm, that we're supposed to bring information back to help us here. We just can't ever remember enough of it. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But the REM sleep, we've all heard this, of course, phase appears particularly significant for supernatural contact. Studies say during REM sleep, the brain exhibits heightened activity in emotional processing centers, while executive control regions remain suppressed. Kind of like a fertile ground for meeting these entities. Almost as if this has been baked in. I almost said cooked, James. This neurological configuration creates optimal conditions for perceiving and processing experiences that transcend normal waking consciousness. I'm going to drop this in the, I'm going to share this in the thing, just so you guys can see I'm not full of crap. This is straight from the thing. This is straight from the Perplexity deep dive. And it doesn't surprise me. None of this stuff really surprises me. And obviously, back to where we started, I share my dreams with ghosts. It makes a ton of sense. Not just in the arcane ways of old, but in the modern science.
Specificity?
That of modern science. Yes, thank you. Sometimes words are hard, as we know. But that's the point. That's exactly the point. And yeah, how weird does it get? What do you guys know? Have you ever had a dream with an ancestral spirit? What do you think is happening there? Is it, again, a trick of the brain? Or is it these actual liminal spaces? And are we actually meeting entities, and not just ancestral spirits, let's say, that we might know, recently deceased, but what about ancient ancestral spirits? And that goes back to that Coco idea that James was just talking about as well, that if we don't remember, let's say, Grandpappy from 1500 years ago, is it possible that Grandpappy remembers us, or has been tracking us, following us, and maybe appearing in our dreams at all? Know anything about that, James?
Well, that brings me back to that experience I had where I felt like I was at a large family gathering, and there was family and there was all kinds of food and everything, and we were just sort of making our way towards the center of this whole thing. And it felt like everyone there was everyone. It felt like they were all there. But it felt like it was members of my family on my father's side that I never knew. And it was just so vivid, and it felt like it lasted for a long time, even though I don't remember a lot about it now. But yeah, I think that's a possibility there. It's so funny because that scientific study, I'm guessing you can guess how I feel about that myself, but a bit triggered there, but that's okay. Just because of all the experiences I've had, and I do think it's an important point too regarding all these things that seem to happen while people are asleep. If you think about it, your body generally is staying still. You're not using energy to move around, to do things. You are, except for your brain and other, I guess, other functions in the body, all your energy is focused, or most of your energy is focused on, I guess, yourself, your own mind. But also, I wonder, is it really, or is it focused on some other level of reality? And that's how everything is happening. That happens when people are sleeping, with visitations from loved ones to whoever else or whatever else is out there too. It just makes sense to me that while the physical body is stationary, that maybe that might make it easier stationary and asleep, it might make it easier to have these experiences. And so many experiences people have happen before, during, or after sleep. And myself included, I'd say about half of my experiences I've had that I can't explain happened while I was asleep.
Almost as if that's part of the game. Yeah, same here. I have that weird, 20 minutes after I get up where everything seems like it's that haze, like that. If you guys have seen The Sandman, there's sort of that haze they walk through, that Sandman sort of fog, the dream fog, as they're sort of traversing realms. I'm pretty sure you guys have experienced it. I'm not unique there, but it's also one of those things where it feels as if you're climbing heavily back into this realm. Why though? Why? It's a strange thing. All this is very weird, and that's why we talk about it. Again, this show is to talk to you guys. What do you know about it? How come these ancestral spirits show up in our dreams? Do you think there is some liminal space that you could map, as Jen was saying? I kind of believe that might be true. And not only that, can science verify this soon? I kind of think so. I think we're headed to some bizarre spaces coming up, guys. Strap in. The Terrence McKenna quote comes to mind. Is it here? Let's play Terrence McKenna. It's so good. Terrence McKenna. I'm super proud of this one because you can only find this with some crappy background music, but I was able to peel the background music out of it. Where is it? Oh my goodness. I need my glasses. Getting old sucks. Never mind. I'm not going to play it because I'll play the wrong clip, but you get the idea. Things are going to get weirder and weirder and weirder to the point where everybody's going to have to say, what the hell's going on? That's the point. Okay, let's see. Yeah, dream cartography. This is where this heads. And that's what Jen was talking about regarding sort of the river Styx, the different rivers. And as a correction, I said 7 or 9. There's actually 5 rivers of the Greek underworld. That's my bad on that. This link will be in the description as well. But this is the type of stuff that makes me wonder about the ancient ways, about our ancestors. And maybe they knew some things 5,000 years ago that we're now going to just discover, and maybe it'll scare the hell out of us. I don't know. Lots of things here. Dream hacking, dream programming. Like this gets into exactly that story of Inception. Because that's where this heads next, as you guys know. Full well, if you can hack it or use it to cause humans to act a particular way, sort of MK Ultra in your dreams, you bet your ass they're going to use this or find a way to do it. Dreamvertising, as we've talked about in the past. Yeah, I don't know. It's all very weird. Once again, love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Where were we? Let's continue. Now, as part of this, again, I linked this in the chat. This is the Perplexity deep dive on this, which is wild because it's kind of dragging all of these ideas back and basing them on the science we know today, and even citing these studies, and they're linked in the thing. Like I said, please go check this stuff. I'm not just pulling numbers out of my backside here. This is based on some modern science. But again, just because we're toes in the ocean in dream science doesn't mean we know anything about it. Okay, so don't forget that plays as well. But anyway, let me read this. So now the monitored zones, as I've been talking about tonight, is, let's say that you're not allowed in a particular dream space. Like I said, if I was like, James, I'm going to show up and I'm going to haunt your dreams tonight. There's nothing you can do about it. You're not going to sleep at all. There's got to be some mechanism. Assuming shared dream spaces, which again, we've seen scientifically recently happening, where there's some sort of block, there's some sort of metaphysical barrier, a monitored or controlled zone. Let me read a little bit of this. And it's straight from the thing, straight from Perplexity, which is very good, by the way. If you're still using Google in 2025, you're doing it wrong. Trust me on that. But the threat simulation theory, listen to this, proposes that dreams function as a biological defense mechanism, continuously monitoring and preparing consciousness for potential dangers. We've talked about this in the past. This is modern dream science, okay? The theory suggests that dreams serve as ancient biological defense mechanisms that repeatedly simulate threatening events to rehearse cognitive responses. That's the current consensus. The implication is that dreams may operate as surveillance systems, constantly scanning for threats across multiple dimensions of existence. And that's getting a little bit woo with it, okay? Research supporting this theory demonstrates that traumatized individuals experience significantly more dreams with threatening content, suggesting that the dream monitoring system activates in response to perceived changes. This raises the possibility that dreams function as early warning systems, detecting threats that may originate from non-physical realms, or dare we say, entities. Which gets into sleep paralysis we talked about a couple nights ago, so I don't have to dig too deep into that because we just smeared that all over the Troubled Minds zeitgeist. But you get the idea. It feels as if there's something to this. And it feels as if science is kind of recognizing that we are liminal all the time. And what happens when we're able to crack open the other side of that liminality? What happens on the other side of the curtain, the veil, as we like to call it? I don't know. The dream space has a lot to offer. And for us, regular normies, just living our life in this world, trying to do the best we can, what does it mean? That's where my mind's at. Anything there, James? Lots of things to consider. Lots of wild ideas.
Yeah, this is making me think of something I mentioned earlier where there's just a history of devices acting in weird ways. And I'm thinking now about the whole Neuralink aspect, as well as just connecting people to each other through devices in their minds while they're sleeping or whatever else. This factor that, unless you kind of looked into all these things, as some of us have here, you'd have no idea that, sometimes devices act in weird ways, and it seems like they're doing this because of consciousness of some kind, whether it's spirits of people that have passed or other consciousness, other beings. I'm just curious how that is will that ramp up the more as technology becomes just embedded in everything around us and possibly even in the body in different ways? Will that ramp up? And if there's too much of an incursion through electricity, through devices by companies and corporations and ads and all that, will there be a pushback, not just from the people themselves, but from whoever else or whatever else is out there once they get to that realm?
From the dream realm itself. It's like, hey, this is our space. We did a show on that recently, kind of too. It was probably like several months back, but wondering if dream entities would recognize sort of an incursion like that and what they would do. Like, would they sort of start blocking off spaces of the dream realm because it was literally an invasion? And remember, during that conversation, we were talking about what if they started invading this realm? What would that look like? You know me, kick the idea upside down and consider what the hell that means. But yeah, this is all brand new science in terms of connecting people together while they sleep and proving that shared dream spaces exist. And I think, ancient wisdom and our intuition has always told us that that's the case. However, in this particular idea, in this space we're talking about tonight, it might mean that idea of Coco and those ancient ancestral spirits, maybe it's real. I wonder if that follows like the metaphysical chain back, meaning that not just living entities, but what if, let's say, an ancestral spirit falls out of the metaphysical memory of non-living entities? See, my mind's nuts. My mind is a sunless space. as is said in the quote there. But yeah, I don't know. Look, as usual, this show is so we can talk to each other. And what do you guys know about it? You think it's weird? Have you ever had an encounter with a ancestral entity in your dreams? And is this where we can actually spend time with them? Is this really what it's always been about? And we're just now finally coming into contact with some possibilities of maybe, as I like to call it, the maybe juice. You tell me. What's a Bioxy says that humans flooded the nether realm with dumb tweets. Yeah. Yes, and then gets banned. Yeah. I wonder what Twitter looks like in the arcane space in the nether realm. Twitter here is horrific. Don't make me bring up Epstein. Not going to do it. We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, you guys tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of wild ideas, a lot of ways to take this. What do you know about dream incursions? Is it possible to, how about this? Is it possible to force yourself into somebody else's dream? Literally brute force, like a Dungeons and Dragons monster. You just target, infiltrate, and become their very nightmare. Does that sound ridiculous? Maybe. But what if scientifically you can pull this off in the next 5 years? Then suddenly it doesn't sound so crazy at all, does it? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Non-linear, open-ended, take it wherever you like. I'd love to hear from you. We do the show to hear from you. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. More on the way. Be right back.
Crazy colors swirling, got the laughter in the air. Jesters in the night, they weave magic everywhere. Clouds are juggling dreams, wild world is in despair. Nothing's quite as certain when reality's a game. Chaos in the corner, whispers calling out your name. Look around, it's laughter, even when we're feeling pain. You know they want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Dancing shadows flicker under neon all aglow, while the stage is set for tales that nobody will know. Echoes of the laughter as the lost ones see the show. Life's a playful circus where the chaos takes a bow. Joy and sorrow blending in the rhythm that we vow. Join the ride of madness, it's the only way for love. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Twists and turns and shadows, laughter in the night. A tapestry of madness, dancing with the light. Fools and fun were woven, chaos in our stride. Embrace the wild, let the laughter be our guide. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Falling in the rhythms, beats that pound and thrum. A flashing carnival where the misfits come undone. Whirling through the madness with our hearts set to ignite. In the symphony of chaos will remain the shining light. Yet nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody want me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist.
Indeed. What's up, Sylvain? How you doing? What's up, Joey? Apoc Sweets, Gaston, Matzel, Joey, Joey El Demente, Joey Don't Panic, with Don and Daryl. And our friend there left, but he told me how to say his name. What is it? Talk Kelsey. Talk Kelsey? All right, there you go. Talk Kelsey. All right. I got it for next time. Talk Kelsey. What's up, Molly? Welcome back. Yeah, what do you know? Dream stuff. I'm about to get weird, per usual, right? Like the longer you guys let me talk, just the weirder I get. It is my curse. So strap in. We're about to go deep, full, weird Michael Strange level, which I'm not sure anybody deserves that. But here we go. Let's see. Hiker adds, I wonder if they utilize the immense water body energy for dark globalistic magic. Talking about that over on Rumble. I'm not sure the context of the comment, but yeah, maybe. In terms of dreams, I can see all kinds of things. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. Final segment. If you want to get in here, now's the time. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming in all the places and all the things. 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand, and of course, the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're talking just dreams. I share my dreams with ghosts. The psychic DMZ, or sort of the network demilitarized zone, which basically just is there some sort of dream barrier? Are we not allowed into others' dreams? And how weird is this? And how come we can make contact with our ancestral spirits through our dream state? So we're not allowed, but they're allowed? I don't know. There's a lot of these metaphysical rules that kind of come into play when, again, you're trying to conceptualize what that means or what that feels like or what that looks like. To me, right, I'm like, okay, so I think like a dungeon master, all right? You guys know me, D&D. And a dungeon master is basically the arbiter of reality. The dungeon master rolls the dice, collapses the wave function of what potentiality could be into what actually happens. Okay? So it's a fictional space. However, when you look at those rules, those metaphysical rules, they're all based on old mythologies, old religions, old folklore. And I wonder if there's some wisdom there, which is what brings me back night after night talking about these ideas. But in that case, in terms of considering what the framework is and what these rules mean. So if I can't go, James, I'm going to haunt your dreams tonight, and maybe or maybe not do it, but an ancestral spirit can kind of come into my dream tonight or James's dream tonight. You see what I mean? It suggests a level of rules that are very specific. I don't know. That's where my mind's at with this. As you know, like I said, I can get super weird, and I'm about to, because hold my beer. Anything on any of that, James, that I rambled on about? If not, I'll keep on rambling.
Well, there's one thing that I thought about earlier, and then I forgot, as happens, and I remembered just now.
Nice.
The idea of place in dreams, the idea of where things happen, specifically these visitations where they happen. Because I've always wondered, are we somehow traveling to those places in that dream realm, as in somehow going to those places on another dimensional level, or are they being created by the people that are visiting? And I wonder about that because there are so many reports of people having visitations from loved ones or friends in places they know. But then there's also so many others where, and we've talked about this before too, the idea of this lobby or other side office waiting room, or the middle of this park that you can't see the edges of, and there's these picnic tables and you meet there. These places that you don't recognize. So what is the importance of place? Is there that? And are these places actual places on not only just in this world, but maybe are there places like that in this world that we just hardly anyone ever gets to? Or are there places that do exist in that dream world that are made for certain functions, like getting together with loved ones that have passed?
Yeah, like kind of peeled like pocket dimensions or something that are specific and direct for exactly that purpose, to kind of keep things contained metaphysically. No, don't cross the Ghostbuster stream, so you open up a portal to Kingdom Come or whatever. I can see that, and which fits perfectly into what comes next. I'm about to read this, but if you got anything else regarding that, go ahead. But this is, I don't know. As usual, look, try and envision yourself as like a dungeon master of reality, and then think in terms of what these rules might look like, how maybe some people can do some things, other people cannot. And I'm talking, dream states, the seeing these entities or not, or whatever. And then some people remember their dreams, some people don't. And of course there's practice involved with everything, but how come these rules are in play, and why are they always in motion? And how can things change based on sort of a D&D style rule set? It's weird. Anything on that? And I'm going to go into this visitation dreams because it's a massive number. The number is really big. And again, linked in the description, and it'll be linked in the, I dropped it in the chat previously. So when I'm dropping these big numbers and saying, 85% or whatever of this, it's from these studies based on people that were having similar experiences. But anything on the D&D stuff, and then I'll go straight to the weirdness, because we're getting weird.
Well, this is the question too, because in two of my experiences, I went to the same place, but the furniture, there were things in one experience that were not there in another. There were all things that used to belong to my grandparents, but so the house looked different in two different experiences. So that makes me wonder: are all of the places that we have that where visitations happen, are all of them in that dream realm? Do we even go to the places that we're thinking we're going to, or is it a recreation of that place for that visit?
Yeah, well said. All that. Now, but we started tonight with this idea of I share my dreams with ghosts. Okay, the psychic DMZ. Again, it's a networking term. It's not the North Korea, South Korea, but basically like a firewall. I probably should have used that. The psychic firewall. Think in those terms. Now, and ancestral spirits, and it being a very common paranormal trope. Okay, listen to this. This is again from Perplexity. It's sourced, linked in the chat. Dreams serve as the primary medium through which the living maintain contact with deceased loved ones. Research indicates that 50 to 85%, there's that big number, of bereaved individuals report dreams of their departed loved ones, with these experiences often feeling more real than ordinary dreams. Such visitation dreams typically feature departed individuals appearing healthy and radiant and communicating telepathically rather than verbally. Like I said, anecdotes are one thing until enough of them become data. And then suddenly, these old ideas seem to resurface as science. So what does it mean? So the characteristics of genuine visitation dreams include exceptional vividness, emotional intensity, a lasting impact on the dreamer, which we've talked about tonight. These experiences often provide comfort, closure, or important messages, suggesting that dreams may function as a communication channel between dimensions of existence. Right? Again, extrapolating scientific studies, going out on thin limbs and wondering why a lot of these ideas resonate, even though it's pseudoscience, even though it's nonsense, even though, come on, Mike, human spirits aren't real. There's no such thing as a soul. Science says no. And of course, I would differ that thousands of years of human evolution suggest instead, maybe. That's good enough for me. The consistency of these reports across cultures and time periods indicates that dreams may serve as a universal portal, as I said. Now, let's get more weird. Historical evidence demonstrates that ancient cultures universally recognized dreams as these channels for communication with supernatural entities. Egyptian, Greek, Mesopotamian civilizations established dream temples where individuals would sleep to receive guidance from deities or departed spirits. These practices, known as dream incubation, a modern term also, snatched from the past, were widespread across the Near Eastern civilizations of the ancient world. Again, links in the Perplexity, check it out. Ancient dream interpretation recognized that dreams could carry messages from gods, ancestors, or spiritual guides. Back to the psychopomp, right? The Egyptian creation of the Chester Beatty Papyrus in 1350 BC, I've never heard of this. This is new to me. When I was scanning this, I was like, damn, that's wild. Anyway, represents the world's first written dream interpretation guide, acknowledging that dreams serve as messages from the gods. And if it's good enough for the ancient Egyptians, it's good enough for me. This universal recognition across cultures suggests that dreams have always functioned as communication channels with non-physical realms. And like I said, so many ways to consider this and look at it. And I don't know, is it weird, by the way, that I'm trying to dungeon master the realm in my mind and kind of formulate rule sets based on ancient traditions and modern science? Or is that just trying to figure out the world? I don't know. Does this seem weird to you, James? Am I that weird?
You're so weird. I don't even know. No,
so weird.
But but yeah, that's the age factor as far as like the way people appear, loved ones appear. That's something that also can vary. I've heard of accounts where loved ones look like they are 10, 20, 30 years younger than they were when they passed. I haven't experienced that myself, but obviously I am not the one to determine how everything works, obviously. But yeah, that's a common thing as well. People having encounters with loved ones where they just look like they're younger, and or even that glow, that light that surrounds them is also really common. So yeah, that's amazing that was recorded in that or that put out there in that study, and I look forward to more of these studies on the anecdotal evidence, because I think there is more there than just stories. I think when you have so many, again, thousands of them across thousands of years of time, there, to me, I have a hard time thinking there's not something there.
Yeah, and tens of thousands more, or maybe millions more, lost to time itself. Like that's
Yes.
what this is like. Okay, so our intuition, our modern intuition, is like a Troubled Minds fam is like, yeah, there's probably something else here. Like, what is it though? And that becomes the question. And so my whole point of tonight was talking about this. So I share my dreams with ghosts, which were ancestral spirits, which is the most common paranormal trope, as I said, or one of the most common. If it's not the most, it's one of them, right? Because many people experience this. Now, back to the psychic DMZ, or that firewall. And this is where this kind of brings it all home. As usual, we got a little bit of time left. If you guys want to jump in here, you got some ideas on this. What is happening in the dream realm? How come we can contact these ancestral spirits? How do they come to us? Are these pocket dimensions being created? Is there an actual static dream space you can measure? There's so many ways to look at this and think about this. And that's why we talk about it in the way we do, and just kind of meander wherever interest takes us in the moment. But back to this. So that psychic DMZ zone, the demilitarized zone, but again, it's not a military term, it's the networking term. Okay. So that concept suggests that dreams may function as neutral territories where different forms of consciousness can interact without the barriers that typically separate dimensions or states of being. And it does invoke in this perplexity, like the North Korean, South Korean DMZ, the demilitarized zone, which serves as a buffer zone between opposing forces. Sleep may create a space where the normal rules of physical reality are suspended, allowing for contact and communication across otherwise impermeable boundaries. And previously we talked about the permeable aspect of our consciousness while we're sleeping. So you see, that becomes the thing. And by the way, shout out Eric when I was describing, does anybody else do this where they try and figure out the laws of reality through the lens of a dungeon master? He said, haha, I do it all the time. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one. Shout out. Okay. So, but so the psychic DMZ theory is supported by research showing that sleep states create conditions for experiences that transcend ordinary consciousness. And that's the point. The paralysis of REM sleep combined with heightened brain activity creates a unique neurological environment, as we said earlier, where consciousness can separate from physical constraints while maintaining awareness. This state may function as a meeting ground for different forms of intelligence or consciousness itself. And again, in 2025, where in the UFO realm, I bring this up a lot, we're talking about not extraterrestrial intelligence anymore, because that's an old 1960s term from like the spooks of old. We're talking non-human intelligence. But I think the reason is very obvious, because we're dealing with AI these days, non-human intelligence. So that, kind of take the bull by the horns, change the idea, tell people what this is versus what that is. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. And like I said, shout out to the lucid dreamers. Shane said, shame I can't call in because this is my jam. Yeah. Next time, brother. If you're not feeling well or whatever's going on, that's cool. And that's the point. I think to me, I don't know, maybe lucid dreaming protocols are the next superpower, because again, with Neuralink coming and these technologies where we're able to kind of hook people together and tandem dream and verify there's communication happening through technology. I do wonder if maybe that sort of lucid dreaming aspect of these things will become that next sort of kind of getting ahead of before it gets ahead of us, actually grabbing the bull by the horns as an individual consciousness. I don't know. It's weird. All this stuff is incredibly weird. And that's the whole point of this, is that looking at things a little bit differently without conclusion, recognized, by the way, science itself is without conclusion, kind of leads to some magic. And sometimes we got some magic here and sometimes we don't. However, it kind of has me interested in lucid dreaming. Anybody know anything about that? Got a few minutes left if anybody wants to jump in. One more time, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Anything on that, James? Ever tried lucid dreaming protocols? Maybe that's next for me.
No, I've never really tried to do anything that as it relates to sleep, as far as lucid dreaming or anything really. I've always been just, by the time I get to sleep, I'm too tired to think about doing much anyway, as far as preparing or whatever. And yet I've had so many experiences, which is kind of ironic that's happened that way. But I did want to mention that I do wonder about the whole thing with animals and pets and everything. And I've heard of them showing up in dreams, going back to that topic there, after they pass. But also, there's this weird experience I had recently with Logan, my cat, where, and the point of this is, I do wonder if these visitations from loved ones, are they a form of lucid dreaming, or is it something else where it's separate from that? But because I know that when I had these experiences recently where I found myself in my old my old home, used to belong to my dad, and then later my brother, I was there with Logan, and that was weird. So I went to pick her up and get out of there, and she bit me, which is not unusual. But what is unusual is that she did not let go. Normally when she bites me, she knows she's angered me, and so she lets go right away and runs away. But this time she didn't do that. And again, I didn't recognize any of the furniture in the trailer, this double wide trailer we used to live in. And when she bit me on the arm, everything started to fade, and I started to wake up. And I've told this whole story before recently, but this happened like 6 times and in a row, where I'd found myself in this trailer, and a couple times, one time I heard someone in the back of the trailer moving around. So I was like, oh, there's someone else here. I don't know if I like that or not. Another time I saw a vehicle pull up in front of the trailer, and every time I was there, it was getting darker outside. And so this night when this happened, every time I reached for Logan to get her so we could get out of there, I guess she agreed, because she should just latch on. And as soon as she did that, I was waking up. And I wonder, was that a direct result of her doing that? Was she bringing me back here? If not, then what was? Was it myself? Was it something else? I don't know. But it brings me to that idea of the lucid dreaming. Was that involved, or was that something completely different? I think this is where things can get muddy as far as defining things, because I could also see that as a lucid dream.
Yeah.
So it raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, I wonder too. And the recurring dreams are incredibly bizarre, because we're told it's supposed to be sort of the defragmentation of the mind, like a computer, right? Like you're supposed to, it's the challenging, what is it? As I described the duat, the pitfall underworld, you're supposed to have all the challenges all the time and be cruising through, and, like simulating real life challenges. So when they strike you, you're able to handle them, right? That becomes really the larger question of that, or let's say the larger context of what we're told is the modern dream science. However, recurring dreams sort of fly in the face of that entirely, because that means that we are continuing the same thing that is not resolved in some capacity, almost as if we're caught in that loop. And I don't know. I wonder if your cat, Logan, was, like you said, drawing you into that loop. I don't know, man. And those are the types of things, or maybe trying to draw you out of it.
Yes, I think it was that.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure.
By
but I think it
acting up
was.
and acting out of character in the space. Yeah, I don't know. That's the whole point. And so, look, as usual, there's a lot of ways to consider these ideas. And, you know, like I said, modern science is not definitive until they can be like, hey, here's all the things. Here's how we can prove it. Stop it. Stop it. Trust the science, but only so far. And the scientific process is golden. Trust the science is propaganda because it's always changing. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. What do I got? Anything left on the list here? Simulated realities, inserted specters. So, okay, so if dreams can be hacked or programmed, what might the ghost be hiding? Meaning, if you insert sort of Inception style an entity into your dream state, then clearly it's like an agent. It's like a, you know, the dream heist or whatever, just like that. Dream cartography, we talked about that with Jen, if I recall. Appreciate that very much. But the dreamscape and the astral plane as maybe these neutral grounds as part of that. And she brought up the river Styx and sort of Hades and that whole bit of the five rivers there, which was my bad, and Orphism and all the rest of that stuff, which is incredible. Because maybe, like I said, a lot of the intuition of the old stories, the reason they're cyclical and the reason why they mirror each other so specifically and directly, I wonder if it is our own ancient intuition recognizing what it looks like in the metaphysical space. And now we're just like, nah, that's nonsense, Mike. That's just stories. Yeah, but how come we all told the same stories? Again and again and again and again. I don't know. Other stuff comes into this. The Jungian integration with spirit contact, emotional residue, all kinds of things. Like I said, you can deep dive these things and just go forever and ever and ever. But I do wonder, and this is the question for you guys as we go forward with this and the other additional ideas, is lucid dreaming maybe the hack we've all been missing? Can anybody do it? Has anybody practiced it? Has anybody gone from remembering almost no dreams to being able to control them entirely? I wonder. I'm going to try it myself. And maybe, just maybe, put some amethyst under my pillow with a little bit of quartz. Just about out of time, James. You're the best. Without you tonight, look, without James here, I have talked to myself in circles silly over and over again. Thank you to the people who've called in tonight and been part of the conversation with the ideas, like I said, as abstract as they are, as weird and bizarre and all the rest. But like I said, without you, I'm not here at all. So thank you very much again, James, the glue of the show, for being part of this, dipping in early, being interested in the ideas, locked in, and bringing experiences and his not just his personal experiences, but his experience as the paranormal expert. I mean, and he hates the term, but he is, because how else would you describe, by the way, just real quick, somebody who's been through thousands of paranormal experiences and talks about them all the time? James, you're an expert. Final thought. Thanks for hanging out. You're an expert. Get over it. Get over it.
I refuse, but I will be okay. But no, it's, I feel like it's just I've been drawn to it because of experiences I've had that led me to looking into other experiences. And I think, adding to the question you had earlier about why the people in the past, have all these experiences or these thoughts and these things, and why is that sort of, to some people now, looked down upon? Then I have to add too, why are there still so many reports of all these things? People are still having experiences like this. And so if it was nothing, then how is it still happening if it's nothing, if there's not something to it? I always wonder about that too. But yeah, this has been great. It's been hard picking the experiences to sort of choose to talk about and the ones not to. Because I've had enough to where I have to actually think about these things. But also, yeah, finding reports and sharing them. And that's what I like to do with this show. That's what, if I ever do join, that's because I have read enough and heard enough to where I know I have things I can bring up. And so, yeah, thank you for having me on as always. And I do think that maybe at some point, a show about the interaction of us and electronics and other consciousness I think that could be a good show to do at some point, because I think there's enough evidence of that, and enough anecdotal evidence of that throughout the last how many ever years, several years, really, even decades, involving old-fashioned phones and all that, to where I think you could do a whole show on that idea. So, and I'd be happy to join you for that if you decide to do that at some point.
Agreed. Just remind me, because I've got a very short memory after the. That's why I have like copious notes, because I'm like, oh God, where was I headed next? And I'll just pull them up and go, oh yeah, that's where I was headed next. We'll go with that next. But yeah, remind me. Absolutely remind me. It's a fantastic idea. And again, if you guys haven't followed James, you're hurting my feelings. Go follow his Discord. Go do the things. Go hang out. Sometimes it's not a private chat, because it's public. But if you haven't joined James's Discord, sometimes you'll get me acting up like a fool, like more a fool than I usually ever am on James's Discord. So if you haven't joined that yet, please do. Where do we find your Discord, James?
At the website, at all the episode descriptions, I'll have that in there, and the actually maybe not the episode descriptions, all the social media links. But yeah, the website, salcedoparanormal.com, and then all my links. There's all my links page as well, and you can find that through Discord or through even emailing me, salcedoparanormal@gmail.com, for all your weird experiences you had too. So yeah, all those things, and yeah. Just search me online, Salcedo Paranormal. Pretty sure I'm the only one so far.
Yeah, exactly. Until I'm going to make a clone, and we'll talk about that later. So I'm going to hijack James entirely. Not just hijack his dreams. I'm going to hijack his website. You're the best.
You're not getting my dreams. I've got the crystals already. I'm going to push those crystals where. Never mind. I won't say this. No, I'm kidding. But anyway,
hey James, you can stick the crystals where the sun don't shine. How about that? I'll say it. I'll say the words. Yeah. But that's the point. Okay, look. Think like a dungeon master, trying to figure out the laws of the cosmos, not just scientifically, metaphysically. Welcome to my life. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Please follow James. You know what to do. Follow all our friends while you're down there. Like I said, if you spend hours listening to this and you have literally not spent 10 minutes going and making accounts and following our friends in all the places, I'm offended. Please. This is about us, not about me. Like I said, I could make this 20 minutes, call it The Troubled Minds, and be watching a ball game right now. Get it? Help our friends. Shout out Puff over there on Rumble for the computer fund. Thank you for the generous donation from the Rumble crew. Thank you so much for that. And thanks you guys for being so nice to each other over there, and always stirring the conversation and caring about the ideas. Yes, I did get the computer today. Again, 12 months, no interest. So if you want to help me pay that off, I appreciate it very much. Like I said, I feel scummy even asking, because I've been, kind of coerced to fundraise for less scrupulous people in the past. But I promise you, I'm scrupulous. Is that a word? Probably not. In any case, thank you for that. Thanks for all the people who have contributed to the show recently and in the past. And it keeps me going. It lets me know that you appreciate what's happening here, because there's a ton of time that goes into this, if you didn't notice. That's that. Appreciate you very much. If you want to check out the AI music, there's a greatest hits down there. There's an actual MP3s you can buy, the digital files. Thank you to those people who have done that. There's a few people who have also purchased the CD. Where's the CD? I got the CD right down there. Hold on. That's it right there. The old Troubled Minds Greatest Hits CD. It's a legit thing. The Rogue Tulpas is actually real, and you can buy a physical copy just like the old days on troubledfans.com, and those links will be in the description. Sweets drops it every damn show, so thank you, Sweets, for that. Appreciate it. If you want to find them, just check the chat. Yeah, look, as usual, you know me. I'll be back with more wild nonsense soon. However, help our friends. Spread the word. Let people know a conversation is happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. I may or may not talk about Jeffrey Epstein. That's so like Troubled Minds 2019. I'm not sure Troubled Minds 2025. let me know. Anyway, as we finish, this one's for James. Thanks again for being the glue of the show, jumping in here and being Johnny on the spot and saving me from myself night after night. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you on Thursday night, God willing, and then Sunday night. Remember, tentatively, I'll have a whole new computer setup, and cross your fingers everything works. Oh, God, I'm dreading this, but it has to happen. Thanks again. Michael Strange out. You guys have a fantastic one. Keep dreaming. Keep believing. Or not believing, as the case may be. Catch you guys later.